What's up, everybody? This is Karak with ACG, and I'm here with Jonny, and we're doing the ACG Best Gaming Podcast, number 539. 539. Welcome, Jonny. Thank you very much for showing up and hanging out. Enjoying
Always
yourself.
my pleasure. No.
Pleasure
sounds a bit weird, but like...
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
No, not if you're like, dude, and what if you rub some dirt on it? If you're like, it's my pleasure, man. It's my pleasure. And then you lick your lips. You're like, my pleasure.
Okay. All right.
And then you drop your hand below this. If you're like, it's my pleasure. And then you just make sounds for a little while, like you're eating really good food, but no one knows if that's the sound. I don't know. Feels to me like that'd be a perfect way to start a morning style podcast, right?
True. And some people are going for the whiskey here, as they're saying in chat. So
yeah, I mean, they're doing better than us. They're doing a morning whiskey. Like, I feel like, to me, that's a pretty, because somebody was saying, you know, are they doing okay? And I'm like, I feel like when you look at it, a person drinking a whiskey is going to be, you know, doing better than you and I are, probably. Americans are way too hooked on coffee and caffeine. Americans. What did we just talk about earlier? It's like everybody's drinking coffee. It's just the Americans, man. It's just those Americans. Yep. It's always the Americans. You can blame us for everything, but that just shows that we have all the attention, man. I guess it's a good thing when you think about it, except when it comes to buying friggin' computer chips and figuring out what graphics card you're going to get. We're getting screwed all the time. Did you see about the new stuff, like all the new deals with the graphics cards, NVIDIA, AMD, all the stuff with Trump and, you know, trying to work through China and shit like that, man? It's going to be rough.
I mean, only a little bit. What was the latest of that?
Well, they did a deal, so they're tariffing a bunch of video card makers, except, weirdly enough, for like NVIDIA and AMD, which are the major two, which is weird. So they're basically just holding down the little guy, like, you know, maybe an Intel if they're doing it, and they have a company over there, or some generic video card maker or chip maker, but connected with it, DeepSeek, the biggest, I guess you would call it, most successful non-closed LLM. So unlike GPT and Gemini, which are technically closed or were until last week, they basically announced, I think it was day before yesterday, that they're holding off from releasing DeepSeek because the Chinese chips that they made were nowhere near as good as the NVIDIA ones. And so their new release was coming and they could not train it. They were like, they thought they were going to be able to. They were like, yeah, here we go. We're going to roll out our next up, because DeepSeek is very good. They're going to roll out our next up. And they were like, whoops, well, I guess we can't do that without the you know, NVIDIA chips. They're pretty phenomenal chips when it comes down to it. When it comes down to like graphics power and shit, it's nuts.
Yeah.
And oh my God, we've already got anti-Americans in here. Now they're bitching about our coffee intake. Here we go.
Started that.
Here we go. Yeah. But Americans, but actually, we should start every morning. We should call it the Actually podcast. It should be like actually, because we always break off a topic. We'll just start talking about something. We'll end every end of each topic with an, well, actually, I know about Americans because I've met one, so I'm sort of an expert myself.
True. Dude, you can be my token American friend.
Oh, dude. Well, you're my token Londoner friend.
Brazilian or like...
Brazil. See, that's the thing.
Living
you're
in
like,
London.
Dude,
I'm covering three different...
You're multi-useful. You're all this stuff. I'm like Pacific Northwest. Who gives a shit, right? We'll slide off into the water when an earthquake goes off. Nothing there. But at least for the U.S., I can be your guy. And then Silver can be your guy for, like, friend who eeats weird shit.
Yeah.
I mean, Nordic. I guess that's about... No, I mean, yeah.
Viking.
But, like, does anybody care about that, really? I'm just joking. Let's start with games. We are going to discuss a bunch of stuff. We got a little bit of talk about Mafia. We will not do spoilers. Sorry, dog barked outside. We will not do spoilers. We're going to discuss sort of how the game plays out as a single-player title that is smaller, sort of LA Noire versus GTA is what Jonny and I sort of discussed prior to this podcast, but we will steer clear of, you know, any ending stuff or anything like that. In fact, let's just keep the ending out of it, just because it's a little like LA Noire, where the ending is a noir-style ending. And we'll just talk about the game itself. And then we're going to talk about multiplayer. One of the reasons, so you may notice a dissonance, a difference, an alternative meaning to my title in the YouTube versus the thumbnail. It's because really I wanted to talk about two things. I wanted to talk about the fun of the games that we're playing, but also some of where I see the future going in games. And Johnny and I talked about this a tiny bit, but it's going to be sort of not a surprise for him, but I want to see what his thoughts are. But when it comes to little things like the supposed thing where Call of Duty's last level is going to be multiplayer and single player mixed together, where it does feel like some of these companies are going to find any way they can to make the larger games, whether that be raising the prices, what have you. But it could also mean stuff like this where, are you getting away with something if you have the last level be multiplayer as well as single player so that you can sort of not worry about, I'm not saying not worry about putting together a really good one, but you know what I mean. I sort of mean that. It's going to be a discussion all around that. We'll get everybody's ideas. Bows 88 $5 super chat. Have a good chat podcast, guys. Can't stay and listen, but we'll catch up through the week. That's probably the best. Yeah. We're sour medicine. You should probably listen to us in 10-minute, right? 10-minute blocks. 10-minute blocks. Can you imagine listening to us in 10-minute blocks? It would, but if you got done, you'd be like, I have no clue if that was one podcast or 55. They'd have no idea how many podcasts that was. Speaking of 55, it didn't take you that long to beat Mafia. That's the one thing. Right. It is not the typical like open world. It's the shorter one. How many hours did it take you to beat Mafia, the old country?
Honestly, it took me about 14, which is, I think, a lot more than
not bad.
Some people were saying. I do also take my time with some things like looking around and stealthing a fair bit instead of just going guns blazing, driving into places and doing different things, just hanging out. But yeah, it is a short and, like we were saying, like focused game, right? Mm-hmm. Probably the best way to put it. Would it be fair to say it's like a interactive movie?
No. I think Telltale's is an interactive movie. You could certainly say that's closer, but I think that there's enough free will in this.
Because there's more gameplay here.
Yeah. I would feel really bad to saying that because
it's a bit too reductive.
Yeah, Telltale, you and I could end up in a lot of the same places with a different narrative choice at that location, but we'd have the same items or whatever for the most part. With a Mafia, depending on your upgrades, they're adding a free roam in the next coming month or two, which is exciting, but it's more like a free roam to do some collectibles and, maybe explore the land. No, I don't think that's, I would say that would be a little bit reductive if we called it that. But
I think it would be, you could say though that it's a bit shallow on the gameplay side, simply because my gameplay and your gameplay, I think, would look pretty similar. Maybe the main difference is, how much stealthing are you doing versus the other option. Right. But there just isn't a ton you can do at any given point in time. You're being led quite strongly down the path of the narrative, which works in its favor to keep you really engaged in the story. In that sense, it does feel like a long movie where it's just flowing, it's just going. There are no like breaks in between. Like I was saying before the podcast, I do miss the ability to have these lull moments where, you go back to your place and you have maybe a bit of freedom. Maybe you can go to a barber shop. Maybe you can hang out in town for a bit. It create a little bit of a microcosm of your own outside of the story.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I would also say that, the enemies will be set up in the same places generally. They might have a small patrol difference, but because you're not having a ton of random attacks or random encounters, your gameplay is going to look, fairly close to mine, fairly close to anybody in chat. ACG, I have seen the F1 movie. And it is awesome. Who said that, by the way? Did I miss this? I want to, because I'm actually excited as hell for that movie. Z
Me too.
1582. Are you in chat as somebody else? Because I just talked about that in chat, and it was a random mention. So I was just saying I assumed it wasn't you, but maybe some of you guys have different names. Man, I am getting a cold now. My nose is starting to run. Dude, I've been sick for the last 3 days, which for me feels like forever, man. Like forever. Oh, it's
so annoying, isn't it?
It's making my I noticed this morning. I was like, a couple days ago, getting that sore throat kind of thing, and you're like, Yeah, it just feels weird. And then I thought, oh, it's just because I'm not sleeping very well.
For a moment, you think like I'm gonna fix it by just drinking some water,
Lemon
and then it
juice.
dawns on you like, no.
That's what I did. I drank lemon juice to like clear it up, and I was like, yeah, but it's not going away. Like there's a little bit of pain there. I think it's just a little baby cold I probably got from some weakling who delivered food. Damn it, weakling. Just joking. Yeah, please go watch the F1 movie. Okay, I will. I appreciate you guys offering some suggestions on that because, dude, I love Brad Pitt. I don't like F1 at all, but I like the movies about F1, and I'm not even going to try to dive into why that is true. I've liked a couple soccer movies too, and I could care less in any way, shape, or form. I think it's the getting together, the team, like the F1, what was it, Ford versus Ferrari, like the people getting together as a team and going forward and like we're gonna do this together. That shit's the juice.
Yeah, and the competence of the characters,
born.
right?
Yeah.
Like competence born.
Yeah. Speaking of competence, did you feel that your character did you feel in control in Mafia, even though I know your story's out of your control, right? What I'm saying is narratively, is it a fish out of water? Or is it more a dude without the training? Or is it an outsider coming inside kind of movie? Like which of those? And if you need me to describe what I'm meaning, because those aren't, the last one in particular isn't an exact science there. But like, what did it feel like to you? What did Mafia 1 feel like? Because in the other Mafia games, it has been 2 times. It was like, people turned on each other, but they knew each other. And this one feels set up to be a little bit different than that. And then 3 was, of course, Lincoln, right? Yeah, a totally different character coming back. But what did this one feel like?
Yeah, this one felt a little bit like an anime in the sense that, okay, let me explain. Maybe that's a bit weird. In the sense that the character has a lot of like latent potential. So pretty much everything you get into turns out you're really good at it, right? So like you've never driven a car.
Really good at it? Where they're
like in a weird way, you just have this talent for everything you try to do. So like, the first time you drive a car, suddenly you're, the best pilot in town. You're like, you can ride a horse like the best of them with barely any practice.
Okay.
You can go into one of these places and like take down 20 guys, which it seems like nobody else can do in the gang. When you compare your ability to what the other guys can do, it kind of seems like you're really overpowered.
Huh.
That's why I'm getting that anime vibe where it just seems like you have unlimited potential, you keep tapping into.
Yeah, and I guess they wouldn't have time to show you learning it, and an open world game would have allowed you to have some time where you could learn it.
True.
You might show you going against. So this one,
that's the Hogwarts problem we talked about too. You don't see them learning too much.
They're like, you got to go to classes to fulfill the class part, and just the name, it's in name only. So when you look at it, it definitely feels like this game's it's for sure more of a bully or more of a LA Noire, but even obviously smaller versus a GTA. But you were saying that I don't know, it felt like you were talking about it and maybe you weren't in love with that idea.
So I felt like they had opportunities to expand in some areas with not too much effort, where they could have calculated like, hey, we can spend 1 or 2 months building some interaction stuff that you could do in town, for example, just to go back to my idea. Maybe we can allow you to, at the end of a mission, it's now nighttime, you get to maybe go into town, spend some time there, have a drink, and then go back to your place. Sometimes you might get a dialogue when you do it. Other times, maybe, you're just tired, you make a meal at home, whatever it may be. You could kind of come up with these little interaction things to give a little bit of a sense that days are passing, because my sense playing was very much like a time skip, from time skip to time skip,
very much so.
Kind of thing,
Yeah, I would agree with that. It reminds me at times of Gears of War, the original versus say 5, where 5 you're exploring and there's a time, the time gaps are there, but they're announced because they are happening rarely or more rarely. Where in the old game, sometimes you'd just be like, I'm here, I'm there, I'd bounce around. It just depends on the game. More so, actually, not even one. It was like, I feel like maybe it was 2 or 3 that even had more times where I was like, how much time has passed? Because it feels like they're traveling somewhere, but sometimes you're like, I feel like these guys need to stop for a shit and maybe have a burger or something,
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
like
that type of stuff.
Yeah, like 12 hours in, you're like, dude, are these guys need to carb up, man. As to keep the mass that they
like,
have in Gears,
can I
they
have
need
a
to
shower?
carb up.
As weird as it sounds.
Oh,
like,
yeah, they smell like 7 bags of onions
dude.
and some cat litter. There's no way that those guys don't. I mean, the enemies, if the locusts have a sense of smell, they're noticing the humans
from
like
a mile away.
Yeah, maybe 6 to 7 days before Dom gets there. His nuts are just like wafting through the air. Thank God we can't see smell. That's all I'm saying. We got a question from Soulsby1. He says, $10 super chat. Thank you very much. He says, Guitar Hero 2026. There is a new Guitar Hero, isn't there? I don't know. I'm going to jump into it, though. I do wish it turned into strings or something that was a little bit more. I think
yes.
Newcomers, they're going to be fine with the buttons because they've never done it, and that's great. But I do think after owning Rocksmith, which was the
I was gonna
strings,
say that, dude.
Yeah.
We've been spoiled.
Yeah, we've been spoiled a little bit, but I don't want to take that into I wouldn't take that into the review of the game. But I do feel like we're all even kids are more technically proficient and have seen stuff. I mean, because even when they're young, you can see a podcast where a person's playing guitar or whatever. You don't have to go watch it. CBS special or something like that about some kid who learned the guitar, or you have to read a book. You can see so much video of stuff, and that is definitely more interactive than a book. So I feel like kids already have a second level of knowledge that you probably could get away with strings. But then, and drums are already drums. Like drums in the Guitar Hero, what was a Rock Band? Those games, they're straight up drums. And then now you're singing. They had the singing parts too. So I mean, they could add bass, but nobody wants to add that because it's boring. I'm just joking. It's not, but it is. Let's be honest. I like a lot of bass guitarists I love in bands, but I got to admit, like the idea of playing one in a song would be like, man, I don't know.
Well, you could cherry pick really good bass songs, right?
Yeah,
that are super fun to play.
Yeah.
Because I could tell you a bunch, but you are right in that while people are playing bass, they probably are thinking, man, I kind of would like to be playing guitar because it's just more flashy, right?
Very much more flashy. Let's see. When it comes to Mafia, I would say I understand where all this is coming from. I understand, I don't necessarily know if they would even need the stuff you said to make the game a little bit better. I think there's some issues with the combat, some gameplay stuff. But ignoring the ending, I think the story was bothering some people I talked to prior to the ending, where I was listening to people watching a couple stream it, and they're like, I don't know, man, the story doesn't seem like exactly, I guess, what I was hoping for. It might come from the idea that this is your magnum opus in a way. This is like you're going back to the old country, right? And yet, and we've talked about this with other games, and yet it's the smallest of all the games. So in a weird way, it's like we're going to show you the beginning of everything, which usually a prequel like that is the beginning of everything. It's the special. It's the here's the begin. Even if Phantom Menace didn't do it for a lot of people, it was still like, we're going to show you the beginning of these characters, what have you. We're gonna do a bigger, larger story. It is weird to be like, man, here we go. We got fucking the old country. We're going to go see how it all began, and you're like, this is how it began? Especially when you get through the game, you're like, seriously? Because I honestly would say the story as how much it hits definitely is lower than the impact is lower than I expected. Compared to the other games, I actually didn't feel that the emotional impact in the story was very 1, 2, 3. So, I mean, they tried to throw some shit in there, but the general story, it really is 1, 2, 3. It's like they didn't do anything unique to make you feel like this is,
I would say they followed the Mafia movie playbook really well.
Agreed.
But they didn't stray from it. and the beats didn't really hit hard or hit home.
Right.
And there wasn't any moment where I was touched or moved or it wasn't even intense, I would say. But what I liked was some of the characters. I thought that Don Torrisi, he was awesome. He had the panache and the weight of that character. That was really well done. I liked the girl as well.
Okay.
His daughter. But I would agree with you. I think still to this day, I remember Mafia 2 more than I will be remembering this one very soon.
Fair.
In a way.
Yeah.
Because I do remember some beats in that story.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from on that one. I will say this, though, straight up, dude, I love them. I love these games. I love the mini AA games or mini AAA maximum AA games where they fit Outer Worlds 1 and 2. They're fitting in that slice. Avowed, this, Bully. I mean, dude, the LA Noire definitely is on the outskirts because that game not only lasted longer, but it did have a lot of, not a lot, but it did have some side stuff, and it had a city that, occasionally a crime would break out. But I love this area of games, man. I've always liked them, and I've always felt that most AAA companies shot for the moon. And then you would get that AA company that would be like, let's try to do this. Let's try to make a bigger game. And it hit this area, and that's what started the YouTube channel for me. Like, was those AAs, those like Banishers, Vampire, the mini open world, the mini not open world, but still your choices make sense, or the hard hitting but longer closed off linear game. Like, all those are my favorite. This is my favorite. Like, I would say my favorite genre of games, even though it's not a separate genre in a sense. Yeah, but I love them.
This type of thing where you have NPCs talking with you, you're driving somewhere to do something, and even though you can tell it's on rails, it still to some extent feels like something adjacent to freedom is going on.
Yeah, grander than it may be. Yeah.
Like the thing you always say about lying a little bit to create an illusion.
Absolutely,
of a lot going on.
Yep.
I think they do that really well here, which is the sense that you could go there if you wanted. You could, take this shortcut if you wanted. And yet, probably you'll just stick to the main road, have a good time, It's almost that mutual understanding of like, I'm probably just going to play it the mainstream way. But it's cool that it kind of feels like I could do a few different things.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we see 1,000 more of them. Like this is a place where, and it's one of the reasons why it did so well sales wise. It's done phenomenally well, even with some reviews pointing out the Indian stuff. And one of the reasons every time we're talking to somebody and you're like, well, why do you want to play it, or why did you play it? Blah blah blah. They're like, because it's exactly what I sort of like. It's like a TV show that is bingeable. And you get 10 episodes, or it's like whatever, and but you're still interactive. You're still taking down enemies. You're still talking to people, not talking to some, maybe sometimes making a choice here or there for a small branching narrative, but it's still about this more contained situation. I will say that I think it offers less flexibility if you fail. There is less flexibility. Yeah. So if your story goes down poorly, throughout the game in particular, you just have 10 hours of you seeing this story that you don't like, and you're like, damn, because there's not other stuff to break you away from that story. Luckily, this one doesn't have that. It's more the Indian that was polarizing versus bad. I saw some people say it was great. I saw a lot more be like, that was a weird one. But honestly, the other thing is, dude, I think gamers, myself included, we get accustomed to the hero game. We forget that, like, noir is noir, man. Like, they're going to, that it's a game where if you don't feel the pressure on your nuts, it's not because the person hasn't stopped stepping on them. They're readjusting so they can put more pressure on it. Like, that is noir. There's times where you get something that's like they lived happily ever after, but I think that's pretty rare in those stories.
Yeah, normally it's always bittersweet and sometimes abrupt. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really glad they did it this way. I think this is probably one of the better ones. I do, ending wise, it is what it is. But congrats to them because it's doing insanely well. And it seems like people are digging the shit out of it. It is a story that's going to cause a lot of people to talk, which is cool. But
it's currently mostly positive on Steam, over 10,000 reviews. So
and I think it's like already, it was like 850 million a day or so ago. I think it's like already a million. So for them, that's going to be a huge bonus, especially when they're going up against like betas for Battlefield and stuff.
Yeah, dude.
People because every person I talked to who was playing Battlefield, every single person was like, the other game I want to play or am playing is Mafia. So it's like, all right, that's interesting. So there truly is a good sort of litmus test for how much time a person has and their availability and how that can be eaten up. So, and I want to talk about that too. Let's jump from Mafia real quick to Crimson Desert. So that got delayed. And as always, Void in our chat was like, yeah, man, hopefully they don't go against GTA. And I talked about it yesterday in the side podcast, but that unfortunately Anchor has a known bug where if you upload your video, occasionally it would just loop the video in the middle. So in the middle of talking, it'll just restart over. And I didn't know I didn't know I posted it. So that one didn't go out. But what I talked about at Crimson Desert delay is that he was like, well, what if it goes up against GTA? And I'm like, unless it goes within the same 3 weeks, I think a fantasy open world and a GTA open world, while I like them both, I think there is probably a place for, your Mordor third person, open world action adventure game and a GTA, because I also think a lot of people are just going to wait for the PC version of GTA, just like they did with the last one. I just don't see it. I mean, I see it impacting it, obviously, because even the smallest game, an indie game, can impact a big game for one person. But I also don't think they're going to choose to be. I think they're going early next year. And GTA's May? GTA's May. Yeah.
Oh, did they have a fixed date for GTA?
It's May. May, right? Yeah, okay. May. Yeah. So that's a ways away. I think these guys are looking like February or something. If I remember. So you've got more than.
I don't think there's that much overlap. In fact, I see more overlap with something like the Souls community than I see with open world for some reason. With that game, it seems quite centered around the combat.
Yeah, and what was weird was every person I talked to who had played the game for the preview was like, listen, most of the time your open world is there to explore and do all that kind of stuff, but the combat for those games usually takes precedence because it's your upgrade path, it's whatever. And it wasn't good. It was really clumsy. It was really clumsy. It's like every person who played it was like, damn, I can't remember. One of the guys was explaining like just to do basic attacks and how to put them together felt alien. Like it definitely didn't feel good. It felt complex for complexity's sake. So I hope the delay is to figure that out. They did state there were a bunch of reasons. They gave console certification, which is absolutely correct, which also might indicate they had some bugs because console certification is super, super heavy on the bug checks versus like PC, which is barely anything, depending on the store. So certifications, I believe, was one. Localization, voice actor scheduling, they stated, was another one. So to go in and get a voice actor to fix a scene, they've decided to cut something or add something, and it was just too difficult at this time to get it out here. That being said, we're in August, and they are delaying all the way till the starting of next year, which that is
a lot can be fixed.
Well, not only can a lot be fixed, but those reasons, like even when I was adding them up in my head, I'm like, that's a long time to delay. That's not like, the 2 months or the months we saw for some other games.
Yeah, but, dude, anything beyond like a quarter of delay is pretty massive.
Yeah. I do think the console certification's a big point that people just forget, though, because it costs money a ton, and then it just
I never
freezes
hear
you
about
out.
that.
Yeah, you don't because it's a known
myself, thing. I just assume like, that's just
I think everybody does. Like you don't even think about it until a developer or publisher brings it up. But everything from that I see of Crimson Desert makes me want to play it. It's just I want to continue playing it. So that's great that they're patching and fixing some stuff, because if it was that rough, if there were that many little idiosyncrasies and stuff like that, it's like, okay, great. Delay it. I have no issue with that. We have more than enough games right now. So, geez, my nose. Christopher Jetzer says, ACG, do you think the Resident Evil will impact Crimson Desert? Yeah, I don't think so. It's going to be interesting because some of the rumors about Resident Evil, I know one or two are completely false. Those are going to come out soon. I'm not quite sure how those got spread, but there is definitely some stuff going. Yeah, dude, there's some weird stuff about the Resident Evil leaks, but I definitely think that game, also a horror game that's Resident Evil, has its own fans. And if you look at the sales of these games, they sound like they're huge, but you look at the sales and then you look at the total number of gamers, and you're like, no gamer would need to double dip, and both games could do phenomenal. 5-6 games could do phenomenal, and no one would need to double dip. What they need to do is make sure that they not only take care of their own Resident Evil fans, but also anybody else they want in. And then Crimson Desert would need to be like, this is why you want to get Crimson Desert. I will say this. I don't know about you, but a new IP that's like open world like this, that's fantasy, entices me more than Resident Evil and its changes to the game world and the presentation. Like, I am more interested in Crimson Desert. That's just me personally.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's new, exciting, lots of cool mechanics they showed.
Tons of mechanics. Yeah, maybe too many mechanics. Maybe unlike Mafia with not enough. This one's got too many. We'll have to see.
I don't know about you, but any game that shows you falling like from super high up in the sky, like they did for that boss.
Yeah.
Or I'm
swinging around, flying with a cloak.
Yeah.
Transforming into that. Yeah, transforming into shit. That game just looks immense, On the other hand, I've played Elix 2. A lot of games can look immense. Doesn't mean it'll be good when it does it. Sorry, Elix 2, but I'm throwing you out. That was not a great one. Then we also heard Lords of the Fallen 2 is going to be shown at Gamescom. Does that entice you? Does that excite you? Are you a Lords of the Fallen fan? Yeah.
Yeah, I liked the first game. I loved what they did around co-op. So you can, play the full game in co-op. That's really cool. Those games usually, they're really tricky to actually
the co-op
play
is
co-op.
tricky. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that.
I've been doing seamless mod on Elden Ring with a friend for some time, and that was fun. But again, it's a mod, so like sometimes you'll have bugs and, it won't work as you expect and stuff like that. So having a game built with that in mind, I think it's too far in between that we see. For that genre, I think it's really cool to be able to have a buddy with you. Hold your gonads when,
when you
the shit hits the fan.
Somebody has to cup your nuts. I think also when you look at this, especially with this game, they handled the Umbra well, the death stuff well.
Yeah.
So, what are they going to do with that? Is that going to change? Are they changing the fiction to, add more mechanics, which is great? Did something change, between the first one and the last one? How many years is it later or prior? We don't know. But yeah, I'm sort of excited to see it. They're also a weird publisher because they've had a long string of like failures. Like they're definitely a publisher that don't get it right as often as like you would hope. So I'm actually sort of rooting for them to, get one or two successes where more money can be put into Q&A and stuff. Because that seems to be what I've felt is their games prior have always had QA issues. Not the people themselves, but the time that they have to make sure things work before the game gets shipped and you're playing some rough ass, Mark Ruffalo version of a game. Sorry, Mark, but you are pretty rough. So moving on from Lords of the Fallen, moving on from Lords of the Fallen. So listen, if somebody wants to check this, fine. It seems to be backed up. I would love to know if this is true, but Wu Chang Fallen Feathers patched it so that some of the bosses can no longer be killed because of their place in Chinese history, and instead you make them tired, you make them tuckered, and then you talk to them. So there was some tweets about this that there was that they reworked stamina mechanics, and then some people who played these kind of games, your Dark Souls, your Dark Soulsian style games, a couple people had tweeted saying, actually, it looks like some of these bosses you can't defeat anymore. You sort of knock them down from their health until they're at 0. And instead of killing them, you talk to them. Now, if this is true, and anybody in chat, if this is true or you've experienced it or, anything like that, wouldn't that indicate a very close to reasoning for a refund? The reason why I say that is I had to deal with that with State of Decay, where they patched out the permadeath thing, and that was the reason I got it. But I was I think I'm probably pretty low on that was the reason somebody bought it. So I'm okay with it, even though I complain. If something like this is true, and most people go in to defeat the bosses or kill them, Black Myth still lets you kill them, that kind of stuff, most Dark Souls, whatever, and they patch to that extent, it does feel like maybe, let me tell you, if I was nefarious, I'd release it for the Western audiences with the killing, and then I'd patch it out a week later when I knew they couldn't refund it. Yeah. I mean, that's nefarious as hell. And that is nefarious. I'm in no way, shape, or form saying they are, but it's like, that's a conspiracy theory that if I'm saying it on the first game I've ever heard of this happening, if we start getting it, especially from nations that have, the same thing would happen if Buddy Christ showed up, and Jesus showed up and you were able to kill him in a Dark Souls game. And then later they patched it out and instead he resurrected. That would be pretty, people would be like, whoa, what's going on? Some people would probably like it. Some people wouldn't. Different. Whenever you involve history and religious figures and that kind of stuff, I think this can pop up. But I thought it was a weird story, man. Like I read it and I was like, dude, what? And I just don't think enough people are playing Wukong, or sorry, not Wukong, but Wuchang
Wuchang, yeah.
That like, I know if that is true or not. If that turns out to be true, we'll talk about it for sure in the next couple of weeks. Everybody I talked to in our groups is no longer playing it. So it was hard to verify it, but that kind of stuff's odd, man. Like,
so it rubs you the wrong way.
Well, it changes the core dynamic.
Change that.
It changes the core dynamic pretty hard if these guys are like they're, I wouldn't say demons, but the entire game's about demon blood and stuff. It's talking about evil, and you've got this fury in you, and you've got a disease, and you got to do this and do that, and then they change the ultimate structure of multiple enemies you fight that are the bosses, which is what the game's built on, which is boss fights. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair to say. If somebody, I'm not saying somebody can't think somebody's stupid for liking that or wanting it, but if you bought that and they change that around, yeah, I think I think you are getting, that's a pretty huge change. And let's say you played 10 hours, you're not great at the game, so you've only faced 1 or 2 bosses, but you liked what you faced in those bosses, and now you're looking down the barrel of another 20 or 30 hours where you can't kill some of the bosses. You just talk to them. If it was a story plot thing, and if it was done day 1, different story. It's a different story. In fact, you could have a pacifist style game that would actually be sort of interesting if it was about just not killing them, but removing the fury from them. Let's say there's a mythology in your game world where you remove the fury.
Or you become friends with them because you bond over the fighting or whatever.
You're like, dude, you are good. Like 2 friends who get in a fight at high school, and then 2 minutes later they're fucking buying each other a milk in the cafeteria and sharing the same burrito, like Lady and the Tramp. Okay, maybe the second part didn't happen. But
so each time you beat a boss, you have a new buddy to drink with.
I mean,
I'd get behind that.
I would get behind it, especially if they decided that new buddy could be brought into other battles. See, that's what I'm saying is the fiction presents gameplay opportunities that a patch doesn't.
So that makes sense. Yeah,
a patch is a removal of options in this case.
Yes. Yeah, like changing it in reaction to something social or cultural.
Seems weird, right?
It's really shady. This type of stuff reminds me what they did with Wolfenstein 2. If you remember, for Germany, they changed the entire faction. Enemy faction. I think like the name of the faction plus like some of the imagery, so it's not as reminiscent. of Nazism and stuff. Sorry, I didn't want to mention that for the video.
You can say Nazis in here. No, that's fine. Yeah, they did. Yeah. They removed it, and they removed Hitler's mustache, which made him look much more like Hitler than with the mustache for some reason. I remember Tool, Master Tool, and Reg both were like, "Wow, that is a really bad step," because they made it somehow more noticeable in that way. So I'm going to read from PC Gamer. They did a story less than 4 hours ago. It says, Wu Chang Falling Feathers patch messes the game's story all up, renders bosses technically unkillable, and it's all the Qing Dynasty's fault, apparently. It says, the game's latest patch aims to make the game slightly more playable, which it did. It improves get-up speed and a couple other things that is great. But streamer Lance McDonald, that's who it was, and I had forgot, unfortunately, what that person's name was. I apologize to him. Huge swaths of the game has been changed. You can no longer kill any historically significant bosses. So I'm assuming ones that directly share names or something like that with historical characters or something like that. And instead, they just get exhausted and relax after the fight and talk to you. He says the entirety of Chapter 4 is now insanely easy because 50% of the enemies are now no longer hostile to the player, and you can't attack them during the rebellion outbreak. The reason why I asked if anybody else had seen it is because I swear to you, this is just him saying this. He's been the source for 3 or 4 things, and I think I told you the same thing, is that whenever I see a single source, like we saw that a couple days ago with a couple different posts, in particular one about EA and the thing they supposedly said, and then you find that the source is just being regurgitated as sources. Yeah, and that source didn't say anything, and so you're like, wait, what is going on right now? And I hate that shit. I don't care if it's a big YouTuber. I don't care if it's like, dude, if there's only one source, you really do need to look around and try to figure out, especially if you're talking about a game patch, something like this. I haven't seen more data, but yeah. So if that turns out to be if that turns out to be a thing, then yeah, that absolutely sucks. And I would say I feel like if this was anybody else, who maybe had been around for a while. Well, let me give you an example. The best example. If this was Ubisoft, you would have 50,000 people doing videos calling, "We need to talk. Instantly. We need to talk. Yeah. Something strange. Oh my God. What's happening with blah, blah, blah. I played my fucking, coverage of my this, honest, yeah, it's always about me and not the game, the video." I feel like we would have 10, 15, 20, 30 of those in like 7 minutes. And this game's pretty big. And the fact that we don't, I found to be odd, which is why I was wondering about the source. And if not the source, I was wondering about if this turned out to be correct, or if he had a bug that was insane,
Yeah, and oftentimes these, like, I don't know if it's only Asian, cultures type games, but it could be from other places too that are just not like mainstream Western type stuff. I think they usually also get a bit of a pass because people understand that, like, just culture is a bit more stringent in some of these places.
Yeah,
I think naturally people give it a bit more of a pass. But on the same token, if Capcom did this, I'm thinking for a bigger game, like if Monster Hunter.
Dude, yeah, it'd be even if it was a smaller Monster Hunter on the Switch 1, it would still be, you would still see, the 85 grifters out there, and you'd have 1,000, you'd have 1,000 articles, which I did find interesting that I saw this one, but it was only 4 hours ago, and this story popped the day before yesterday, or maybe it was late, maybe it was early yesterday, I can't remember. So yeah, I would say that would be a situation where, yeah, man, I don't know. Like, that changes so much, dude. That's a big change in a Dark Souls style game. That is especially if he's saying an entire chapter is super easy, and you're sitting there going like, well, I was sold on that I would need to do this and that, and they literally patched out the mechanic of killing him. I don't know. It's weird. It's definitely a weird story. I was not expecting to read that. I don't think I've ever seen something like that that's that big. I think we've seen it occasionally where I remember when maybe it was when I first started YouTube, there was a game where they literally patched a character out and replaced him with somebody. I can't remember if it was historically. Well, let's go with the opposite of this. You know, if a WWE wrestler or an NFL player or an NBA player gets in trouble, there is a possibility of them being patched out of the game, right? So that would be one character of a roster of, I don't know what it is, 150. This is like more like if 40 or 50 of them, instead of being able to wrestle them, you went out and you hugged in the center of the ring and you didn't wrestle. That would be weird.
Yeah. I think also anything you patch in is going to be less polished and less like thought out.
Yeah,
than,
true. Than if you
know,
remove
the main
something
thing
even.
you created.
Yeah,
or if you remove something. So it's always going to look a bit more scuffed, right?
Yeah.
Because it is literally something being patched in place.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where, you know, as we get other nations making some incredible games, people are going to have to come to grips with the idea that depending on the history, depending on the way a government works, which is completely different for every place, depending on how the culture works, these kind of changes may come into account. And I do think that it's best if it happens one time to prepare. Unlike, you know, Steam forgetting that they had a bunch of questionable games. It's like, I would love for these companies to like prepare if they see a small warning. It's like, dude, we should look at this and go, what are we going to do if this happens again? What are we going to do if it happens again? Should we make some rules about if you patch out a particularly large part of your game, what are we going to, like, how are we going to treat, just have some guidelines, I guess. It feels like nobody has guidelines for any of this shit. I mean, it's like, how are they surprised if we're not surprised? Dude, how many times have you heard like a company be like, yeah, we were surprised at blah, blah, blah. And you're like, how the fuck were you surprised? Like, I told my mom about it. She doesn't even know games and she wasn't surprised. Like, how the fuck is the guy in charge of everything surprised that this thing happened? Like, it seems odd. But what were you going to say?
Well, I don't know if maybe just because I wasn't brought up with a big either religious or, you know, I didn't have this type of
background,
you know,
like
cultural
that, like a
fixation with maybe a mythos or something like that. To me, the idea of being offended because a figure dies in a game, if they are linked to another mythological figure or maybe deity, you know, from a religion, it seems so crazy to me. But again, I'm aware everybody's very different and like just cultures are very different. But it almost strikes me as I don't want to call like a snowflake, but like someone who is offended by a figure, like a fictional figure being killed in a video game because they are maybe marginally similar to something else. Whatever that is, just seems to me like there's bigger stuff to be offended about.
Yeah.
I know, maybe I'm being insensitive here. You know, like someone.
I don't think you're being insensitive. You made it clear you were sensitive enough to say that you come, you know, you don't have that in your background. So if you do have it in your background, I could see it bothering somebody. To
parts. It's hard to understand that.
And I think that it just depends on, like, what if you're looking at, if you're looking at religious figures, it's one thing, right? Then you have a lot of people who practice, they're very close to their family figure kind of thing, their heritage when it comes to family. Nothing mythological, nothing from a religion, not space dragons, not, you know, the idea of like aliens living in volcanoes. It's like that it's closer to them than it is to you or I. So the idea of it like hitting. But my personal opinion is if somebody turns around and patches this out, my question, and the question I always wonder about, is how did it get through QA in the first place? How is it possible that a game known about for 2 years magically, and then do I have to look forward to Black Myth? What if somebody, I don't know enough about Black Myth, which groups, what if somebody is playing Black Myth and they're like, yeah, this character, you know, this is something, because that's a huge, I think that's more celebratory though, but you know, it could pop up, right? It's difficult to know. It could pop up as something and you could look at it and, you know, somebody could complain and it could get changed. But yeah, it's just odd that it got all the way through. And then people are like, oh, we have that in our game. And you're like, yeah, you have it in your game. We've talked about it for 2 years. For 2 solid years, we've known what's in the game. And you're saying that it took less than 2 weeks for you guys to figure out there was a problem, but but 5 years of development, you didn't figure it out? Like, how in the fuck? And especially in states, governments that look at that stuff closer than, let's say, we do in the West. That seems very odd that it just magically popped up, which is why I was joking about the conspiracy theory of that. Oh, no, we know it's going to be an issue, but what we're going to do is make sure that Western audience wants to buy it, because Western audience would need the fiction, I think. They would need to have a reason why that was occurring more than some other nations, because it wouldn't matter to us that they're in the game. Somebody else might be like, hey, I'm just happy they're in the game. But yeah. Very odd story.
Also, where do you draw the line? Like if someone finds offensive that you're killing dragons, and dragons were a really big part of your upbringing, and now people are Steam, like review bombing a game because they found it offensive.
Yeah. I mean, Steam. It
gets a little silly.
The absolute cancer of society. Like, you never know from one day to the next what somebody on Steam is going to magically, identify as. I identify as a teacup, and therefore I hate this game that's got coffee in it. It's just. And
isn't it crazy that it still in some way defines the success of a game?
It absolutely. I would love for Valve to. By the way, I'm not saying if somebody does something wrong at all. I would just love for Valve to figure out some better filtering and stuff for Steam reviews, so that like a bit more of the truth comes out versus the reactionary force that purposely in comments prior to the game coming out are already stating they're going to review bomb a game. You're like, okay, we need to figure something out here. Like, we've got it's I guess the old saying is correct. Like, a rioter's sign is not the same thing as a vote. They both are political, but there's a difference in how they both act and the length of action the length of energy and action that they have. They are not the same. So it just seems to me that that's a little bit the way sometimes Steam reviews are. I would just love more. They're a big company. They've got a lot of stuff. I would love to see Epic do this, Xbox, PlayStation, really dial it in a little bit more with like how we're handling these things and how people can go in and look and go, okay, so this issue here, almost like a word cloud, which I have an add-on for Steam that does word clouds.
Oh, yeah.
So you can click it and then click the word and it will remove the Steam reviews that are about that. So when I go in and it's like Chinese character or female character, I'm like, I don't give a shit if it's female.
Ignore
Boom.
that.
Ignore that one and go to the others and see what's actually going on in the game. Or patch removed this. Okay, well, that makes sense. Like, now we need to look, like, what does that mean? Especially if I'm buying into the game at a later time, So, interesting
that's
stuff.
That's really brilliant. Yeah, to do the
word cloud thing. I got to shout out Reg. I'm pretty sure it was Reg who told me about it. And I was like, man, that's awesome, because currently Steam, like, it's one of the worst places known to man. It's what's so funny, too, is everybody hates it. Like, all you ever see is people going like, my God, I hate this place. Is like, in the little bit they've done for a company standing on the fucking shoulders of devs taking 30% from it's like, dude, you guys got the money. Sell one yacht, Gabe. Sell a single yacht. One of your little small yachts, your 200 footers, and with your swimming pools, and fucking fix your. And by the way, every company needs to do this. Anybody who's selling games needs to take action on this stuff, and they definitely need to take action on the games causing issues with purchasers stuff early, and be like, how do we screen for these prior to it becoming such an issue that now people, certain people can't get games, or PayPal is like, yeah, we're removing this, but
it's weird how no other platform has this type of rating system. You never hear about like Epic reviews or.
No, but they don't have good enough ones. Yeah, exactly. Like Xbox has got some shit star rating that doesn't make sense, and it's hard to see where they are. How many times have you gone? It's not Yelp, because that's what they're for. There's another website I go to a lot, and I wish I could tell you which one it is. I wish I could tell you, man. Damn, I wish I remember the name. But there's a particular website I go to a lot of times, and the reviews are hidden until you like click 2 different buttons to see the reviews, and it is frustrating as shit. Or Amazon. I want to see the reviews, right? I don't need to see you suggesting to me a fucking computer-shaped dildo because I bought a computer in your giant block of ad text, or put it on the side. Put it on the side if like that's all you care about, Jeff Bezos, you piece of shit. That's fine. Put it on the side. But I have to scroll all the way down, way down below, and then they don't even separate by item. So if somebody sells a 10-foot and a 20-foot HDMI cable, 20-foot HDMI cables were
It's all
notorious.
the same reviews.
It's the same fucking reviews, and they're notorious for having issues with signal strength. So you might get bad reviews, and you're like, oh, this is a bad cable, so you move away from it. Or even
different models, but they aggregate the reviews, because sometimes you click on different versions of the item, right?
Yeah,
but
Amazon
the reviews are the same.
Sucks in that way. They suck. It's hard to do. It's hard to do, but I don't care about their difficulty. They're making the money. Like, I'm not going to sit there and be like,
oh, let me help.
I'll kick them off both of their yachts and make them swim home. I don't give a fuck about them. They need to fix their shit. Like, there's no sadness here. It's like, you fix your stuff. Jeff Max 20223, $50 super chat. Jesus Christ. Thank you very much, man.
Damn.
Wanted to drop in and say what's up. Got all my peptide shipping out of my hands and focusing solely on the custom clothing printing. Oh, this is, I know who, that's a different, it switched usernames. It's Spec Ops. Yeah, that's who I thought it was, Spec Ops in our Discord. I was like, unless somebody's copying exactly what Spec Ops does, and then I'd have to DM and be like, somebody's encroaching on your territory. Let's take him out Mafia style. Thank you very much for the super chat. Glad to see the business is going good. You're always on top of shit, man. You impress me. Definitely impressed me more than most other people I know. Always doing something crazy out there. Definitely appreciate it. Hope you can drop back into chat lately and hang out. Maybe sit in on some of our streams if you get a chance. Shadow account. Sell 1% of the yacht company stock. Gabe has. Yeah. Joey Smith says, do you guys think GTA 6 will be offensive as prior entries? Dude, I hope so. I don't see them not being. I don't know, because what did they say at GTA 5? After GTA 5 is out, they said the reason why 6 we're really taking our time and may take even longer is because satire has to be so far and above reality that you notice it. And currently reality is satire.
It's dangerously approaching.
Dangerously
parody.
Approaching. Yes. Yeah. I would say, Johnny, I would love to. I got an idea for a video. I'm not even going to say it. There's some cool stuff you could do. But anyway, yeah. So my hope is it's not Saints Row. Saints Row was absolutely neutered and cold and cut down and mowed down by everything, to the point to where, wow, a game that was like considered to be fun and, it not even overtly, it was edgy, but it wasn't like overt in the way like, GTA had you blow somebody's head off with an Apple phone or whatever. It wasn't even that bad. You have this kind of stuff. It would be so great to see them do something crazy in Saints Row again. But I think we're done with that. I think Saints Row's over. SZ says, will the free roam in Mafia be part of the main game or another thing you select from the main menu?
It's always been part of the
No, I think this time they said I think this time because it's N+, I think this free roam only unlocks at the end.
Really?
I think it's main menu. I think. But we'll have to see. Dylan said, I remember South Park had issues in its previous season because satire had become so difficult. Yeah, dude, it's hard to do satire. Because I think there's an edge of reality that's satire, and then there's horrifying. And horrifying is this close to real life now. In the past, you had real life satire, horrifying shit that it belongs on banned Reddits. And now they're that close away. I mean, we had people celebrating somebody getting assassinated. You're just like, man, I don't know where we are right now. Yeah, it'll be a weird one to see. But cross my fingers for both of those, including Saints Row. I think Saints Row's done from what I understand, but if not, I look forward to it. I think it'll be neutered to all hell. Or you get a company that says, fuck it, we are going to do crazy shit. And it doesn't even have to be overtly crazy. If you could just match Saints Row 1 and 2, I'd be all for it. God damn, those were good games. Good games.
Yeah.
Sad, man. Sad. We live in the craziest of times. That is for sure. May you live in interesting times is a curse. For sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Borderlands. So, well, we'll talk about that in a second. Actually, we'll talk about that in a moment. I was looking at your other stuff here. PayPal option removed from Steam. We talked about that a little bit, so that's included in our discussion there. Resident Evil leaks and rumors. We talked about it a second ago about some of those leaks and rumors. Were there any specific? I did see that another rumor had come about Code Veronica being made. I saw that.
Dude,
that was
yeah,
one of the
I wanted to bring that up with the rumors because I thought you would be excited. You'd be like perking up your ears.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh,
here's the
what
thing,
now?
man. I would love it. I would love it. I would also, and I think I still wonder about why it would take so long, why it took so long. And then I remembered there was some questionable shit in Code Veronica that might trigger some people now.
Oh, yeah?
More questionable than some of the other games. Yeah, there's a couple things that go on. So maybe that's why. I don't know. But if Code Veronica, Code Veronica gets a dude, I'll be all for it. I'm excited. I think with Resident Evil, though, the rumors don't hit me anymore because they're all being remade. Does that make sense?
True. Yeah.
I thought about this yesterday. I was like, why do I not care about a new Resident Evil rumor? And I'm like, oh, because it's pretty easy to see what they're doing. They're just remaking all of them. So it's like there's no.
At some point, they're gonna get to it. Like,
at some point they'll get to it. And
yeah.
maybe the discussion will be if they don't in 10 years, then you're like, okay, there's definitely something, whether it be IP related or whatever in Code Veronica that caused them to not do that. But it's like they are all being remade. So there's no real juice to any of the rumors because it's not a rumor. It's like you're just backing up the fact we all know. It's like they're for sure remaking all of them. So, but yeah, I wouldn't, I would love it. Just not a huge Resident Evil fan, but I'm definitely a Code Veronica fan. Huge
I like the games, but I'm also not really attached to the story or any of the characters.
That's what I meant. Yeah, agreed.
So one of the things they were saying is that the following games after this one will be a different kind of timeline, and some of them will be maybe going back in time or just disconnected. And that to me just isn't really a problem because it could be equally interesting. I'm not that attached to any of the characters. I think they're cool, but it's not something I would miss if we don't have.
Oh, if you don't have Leon or something.
Yeah, Leon
like
or
one
a
of the
particular
characters. I see. Okay, I didn't know that. I hadn't read that, so I would agree with you. I'd be totally fine with that. Yeah. Bring us some new characters, right? Mm-hmm. Bring us some guys that you don't know. I mean, how many times have you been in a chat or something, or you're reading an article and somebody's like, well, it can't be this guy because we know, or this girl, because we know that Claire actually ended up humping this, undead rhinoceros, which caused the baby that ended up attacking everybody at the end of 7, which is why the sky fell. And you're like, Jesus, when you have that much fiction presented to the fans, everybody knows it. And they get mad if it doesn't fit it perfectly. Yeah, it would be nice to branch off and just be like, hey, this is a new thing. But it's still within the not Code Veronica. It's still within the Resident Evil fan base kind of story and fiction. I would agree with that. That'll be cool, man. We'll have to see on that. Super chat, Jeff Bosman 5268 $10 super chat. I'm late, but let's make it a great Friday. Yeah, and I'm seeing the Telegram. I got a post. Yes, the side podcast did unfortunately go bad. It went sideways, but I'll continue those. I apologize. Yeah, I saw some people asking about that. Yeah, I'm definitely getting back to them. I mean, they're a real thing. They're going to continue. Never liked Leon's Chris Angel hair.
He had some great
very
hair,
specific.
Man. And, no matter what sticky situation he's in, it's always perfect.
Vapor for Blood mentions what I'll mention here. I'm not hiding it. I don't remember enough about it. I'm not like I'll talk about whatever. But in Code Veronica, there's a character that's quite out there and might trigger people in the current climate. Yeah, I do remember even back then, there were a couple characters and a couple things that happened. I was like, whoa, I just can't remember them off the top of my head because I haven't played Code Veronica in a long damn time. K Firm J, do you think there are a lot of remakes because there's difficulty in creating or finding new game ideas that will sell well? No, I think that they do a phenomenal job with their remakes and they spend a ton of money. They are definitely the antithesis to the argument that remakes are cheap. I would say Resident Evil 3 was the only one I had some questions about. Their remakes cost a ton of money. They do a bunch of work on them. I think I'm comfortable saying they know what the fuck they're doing. It's just they have a cadence. They're like, we got a remake coming. We have this game coming. So it makes sense in their financial portfolio, man.
Yeah.
wrestlers go out and wrestle, and then they go sell some T-shirts, and then they sell some mugs or whatever. It's just all part of the same IP address. It's all you type in. You're still getting there. It's just you don't know which port you're going to. And I think it makes total sense that that Capcom's like, this is what we're going to hit. This is what we're going to hit. Are we going to get a Dragon's Dogma remake or Dragon's Dogma 2 remake? It's likely. I think those kind of things are likely now, but they're a part of a strategic plan for their library and their portfolio.
And I think a lot of these projects, exactly. So they consistently do well. And for that, I think they're almost automatically greenlit.
Probably.
Like you were saying, of course we're remaking the next on the list. Like that's business, right? For us. Whereas a new IP, well, it needs to go through all this type of stuff of like, group studies. How's this going to be received? Is it interesting?
Absolutely.
Do people want this?
Yeah, I didn't even really thought about what you're talking about, but you're absolutely right. Like it is, especially if you're good at it and you can go and you can be like, Rory McDonald or Sutherland had mentioned that you will never ever see a creative win an argument if there is somebody who is working for financial in the same room. Because the financial person will be able to say blah, blah, blah. And you could think like, here's our numbers. And you could imagine this in the case of remakes and new IP, where as long as the remakes are good, we're not talking about failure because that would be on the financial sheets. So it doesn't fit this argument. But if you're looking at something saying, hey, this works, and it also lets those developers get a little chop, man. I do believe in this awesome feeling of a developer getting to work on something. Maybe they're just coming into the gaming, the system. They're coming to grips with what it's like to work on a team. They get to work on a company that's doing very well, that from all intents and purposes, I believe has always had pretty good reports for how it treats everybody. For the most part, you're always going to have issues, and then let them make a Resident Evil remake so that they can then be a lead on another one, or they can go up with their experience on another one, especially if you have sort of a guaranteed success because you're doing a good job, not a guaranteed success because it has the same name, which is what we have seen in the past, where it's just the name is all that. The name is the only thing carrying forward, Let's see. Resident Evil Dead Aim had you fighting a transsexual person. Is that true? I don't remember anything about that.
I didn't
but
play
I mean,
that
why
one.
would that even matter in a Resident Evil game? Because you're fighting zombies. Like the thing that people, I think when you look at this kind of stuff, you're just like, dude, seriously? That wouldn't even pop into my head as a thing even back then. I think what I'm talking about with Code Veronica, if I remember right, and I could be wrong on this, I believe there might have been some incest going on or something.
Ooh.
There was something that, and I'm not saying that would trigger people to say, we hate it. We've seen incest in horror movies and all that. It's just, I think what's an interactive game, I'm not saying you press an A to bang. Press A to bang sis would be weird, right? Like, hey, sister. Oh. But there was something in there that I remember going like, there's there was some uniqueness going on. But it's been a long time, so I could be wrong on the exact sort of questionable thing that occurred. But yeah, man, dude, Resident Evil. I'm excited for them overall, even though I don't love the the overall fiction that much. They're zombies, technically, but they're still fun. They're pretty fun games to play. Next up, I saw this as well. Borderlands 4 built for co-op ground up. Now, can I ask you something? This news was on Xbox carried it, but I saw it on a bunch of places. Has Borderlands ever not been built for co-op from the ground? That is not me being a smartass. That is when I read that, I was like, what?
As opposed to what? Like
I thought Borderlands, am I wrong on that? But I thought Borderlands was consistently 4-player like maybe, dude, I mean,
yes,
I don't know.
I think some of the split screen stuff wasn't possible. So now they're saying, you can do split screen. You can have like 2 people doing split screen, but then join together online in a big group. You have all of these options that are being supported.
I still feel so that's a stretch. I feel
like a bit of a stretch.
That's a bit of a stretch,
stuff like dynamic leveling so that doesn't matter what level you are, enemies are still going to be relevant to your level. So for everybody, enemies will have a different level based on what they are at. If that makes sense.
That does make sense.
That's already how it worked in Borderlands 3. I don't think there's any change there.
I don't think so either. Yeah. And in the D&D one, I think it worked that way.
I think so.
Like I said, I feel like nobody in the world thinks that Borderlands was not made since day one for co-op.
I would say, like, did anyone play it single player? Like,
I did some for the review,
rare.
but it's rare. Yeah,
it's rare.
Dylan says, if I recall, some of the early Borderlands may have had shared loot, so loot goblins were a thing. So somebody could steal your loot, kind of.
So you've always had options of cooperative or they had a different word for it, like competition, co-opetition or something. They had a different word for it, where basically you had to compete for the same loot.
I hope it wasn't that word. That is so nice.
They had 2020s. Something nerdy. They came up
co-opetition.
Yeah. I think that's about it, really. And the fact that you have shared progression, so whatever you do will unlock for you as well. Again, it already worked like that even back in Borderlands 2, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. It's cool to see. But just kind of reading through it after I shared the link with you, I'm not seeing anything that's necessarily new. It's just, I think it's going to be a fun game. I'm going to play it. And, I think they're doing the co-op thing really well. I will give them that, because I do think their system works really well. They nail it.
They nail it, yeah. And I think that more characters, the merrier, more customization, the merrier. Like, I'm all for that. Everything I've seen of Borderlands 4, not everything, what I've seen of Borderlands 4 looks like any of the idiosyncrasies that have bothered me. Most have been smoothed over or identified and slightly adjusted or what have you. What I've seen, it looks like it'd be a really fun game. I mean, that's like, definitely more excited for this one than I was for 3. And I'm not a big fan of the games, as in, like, I'm not sitting up, waiting at night to play the new Borderlands, but certainly a co-op shooter.
Yeah.
I love me some co-op shooters. Abbreviated Review says, is that what you do in a Game of Thrones game? I'm assuming the incest. Yeah. Game of Thrones has had 2 I've played. It had that Telltale one, and then it had another one. And then recently it had that mobile looking game. It was like big. It was like was it mobile, or did it just look mobile? But it was like, 6 months ago? It looked mobile.
Yeah, we saw just a trailer for it.
Yeah, I never got to play it if it's out. Also, I talked about this in the side podcast that didn't come out, but Metal Gear Solid Delta has removed another part of the multiplayer that's going to come later, which I believe was the co-op crossplay. Sorry, the crossplay stuff. So they've had some issues there, and I was wondering if it's possible that maybe that Metal Gear, and I think you had brought this up, that, like, did the delays, were the past delays because they've been just trying to get that multiplayer in, and it just hasn't worked out. And so now we're at the point to where, I mean, I don't even know what part of the multiplayer is in this game when it comes out day one, but I just don't think of Metal Gear Solid as a multiplayer game. I mean, I'm happy
I don't think so.
that they're doing it, and I don't want anybody to not have it. I'm just saying that game, for me at least, is more of a, I'm going to go in and do my thing and play. That's just how I played it. Certainly nothing.
I wouldn't buy it for the multiplayer. It would be like going to McDonald's for the wrap.
I'm trying to put that together.
It's taking you a bit to parse that, but they sell wraps in McDonald's sell wraps here.
At McDonald's? What's a wrap to you? Are they like a burrito, or do you mean like a
It's like
wrap?
A tortilla, like a soft tortilla with like chicken and salad inside, that type of thing. Wrapped up.
I don't think I've ever had one from there. I haven't had McDonald's, dude, in like maybe 25 years, 30 years. Me neither,
honestly. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's been... And nothing against McDonald's, because I know people who love it. People can bitch all they want. It's like, our fast food is better than your fast food, whatever. I'll eat what I need to eat. But yeah, we just don't ever choose. It just doesn't pop up. I think for a lot, when like I was babysitting, or when my nephew, when I was near him, living near him, for whatever reason, McDonald's was more, it was more often. And it might have been the toy the toys. It might have been the overall aesthetic of it that was more
convenience, whatever.
It might have been more of a childlike thing. I don't quite remember, but I haven't messed with McDonald's and man, I haven't messed with McDonald's. Yeah, it has been 2 decades probably. K Firm says, I always wondered, how do you guys play new games for 60 hours straight? I mean, not playing any other game and not getting exhausted or feeling that it decreases your enjoyment from the game. If you're not talking about reviews and you're just talking about people enjoying games, I don't think it should be that. I mean, take that hobby and replace it with a hobby you like doing a bunch of. I don't think it's that surprising somebody can play 60 hours straight of a game and still enjoy it, because I know people who camp all weekend long or for a 3-day weekend, Memorial Day kind of thing. And that's, you're talking 72 hours, whatever. They're out there fishing and camping, maybe just fishing. Some people really love fishing. It's not for me, but it doesn't really surprise me that somebody has a hobby they love. If I could do airsoft for 2 weeks in a row, dude, I'd be there. Like, I love that kind of stuff. Like, it's just like, and then, for me personally, I just doesn't even bother me. To me, it's like, it doesn't even feel, it never feels like 60 hours unless it's like Gollum or something. But I don't get that bothered by it. Like, I think with anything like that, I mean, that would replace it. I mean, dude, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. I think it's pretty easy to understand where somebody's coming from if they like that kind of stuff. But that's just me. Let's see. MGS dabbles in multiplayer every now and then, but there was a small diehard community. And Karak just wanted to play in the ball pit. Oh, you talking about McDonald's? Now, that ball pit stank of child's, like a sweaty, like, clothes or something and urine. You never jumped in the ball pit, dude. Little kids are in there, or who knows, maybe adults, and and pissing in the ball pit. Nah, you don't mess with that. Dude,
okay, you've spoiled. I've never thought of someone peeing in a ball pit until now, and I can't get it.
It's unfortunate, but talk to somebody who has to clean the ball pit, and afterwards you're just going to be like, "Yep, well, dude. Humans are nasty." Manny DOP 500 super chat. What was the funniest scene or moment in a game? For me, it's either Yes Man from New Vegas or some Yakuza side quest. Thanks for the podcast. The funniest. Okay, we'll say the funniest that wasn't set up by you or an action. Do you see what I'm saying, Johnny? So it has to be like let's give the kudos to the writer or the game maker. It has to be the game maker or the writer. What's the funniest thing that ever happened in a game?
Yeah, Yakuza certainly has some really funny moments.
Dude, the guys in the diapers and shit.
Yeah, exactly. Some dude in diapers, or like when the manly guys are singing some karaoke and, like feeling, those are funny. Yeah, funny is difficult.
For me, it's probably
games.
GTA 5 had some hilarious parts with Trevor that I was just like,
true.
what? Okay, no. My funniest part, the part that was embarrassing yet funny, is definitely when Michael comes home and the yoga instructor and his wife, and he's like chasing him out of the house, and the guy's talking. The tennis. Yeah, and the guy's talking in that, like, I don't even know what you call it, the Italian French weird accent. He's like, but I don't even know how to do it, but I remember laughing, going like, oh man. But it was more like, it wasn't laughing at a joke. Those are hard to do in games. It was laughing at the scene and the physicality and him trying to, come after him. I thought that was amazing. Really well done.
Michael was funny. Those moments where, like,
Michael's entire story, I actually think, is sort of it's underrepresented in the discussion, because Trevor becomes so elevated in the discussion that it's like, when you actually look at some of the stuff he had to deal with, or what was going on in his life, was like, dude, that's funny, or that's sad, or it's ironic, whatever it may be. Yeah, I mean, funny wise,
I guess funny we don't see a ton.
Yeah, it's
really
hard.
Funny. Yeah.
It's hard, and when it is, I would say it's most like imagine this. Imagine like a character in Gears of War getting done killing a bunch of people, so he stands up and makes a one-liner, and then an enemy grabs onto his face. That would crack me up. Like that, because it'd be the surprise, maybe be like, whoa, and an enemy gets him. Those kind of things crack me up. It's rare that a company wants to do a joke and they animate that joke, you know, to be slapstick. But the bigger companies like a GTA, or the bigger developers like a GTA developer or Gears, I have seen those moments in Gears. I think there are funny parts in Gears. I think they're actually somewhat laugh out loud funny, but it's more like, you know, the Coltrane or whatever saying something stupid, and you're like, dude, that's awesome, you know. But
I think sometimes it's also just a deadpan. It could be a character that's very serious, but it's confronted with something mundane.
Yeah.
You know, maybe a Geralt, where the way Geralt reacts to some stuff.
Or Red Dead. There'll be something that, you know, it happens. Okay. I will say Red Dead 1 in particular, there were some funny parts when, like, you meet the cannibal. See, but it's not laugh out loud funny most of the time. It's mostly just that, like, you're chuckling along with the game and the character that you're dealing with at the time. But yeah, that's interesting. Very difficult when it comes down to it, though, man. Super difficult to have a laugh out loud funny part in a game.
Yeah, because you see these jokes that never land with anybody. Like, you know, Hogwarts might have a joke about riding a broom, but you're like,
right.
Yeah. I mean,
true.
I respect what you tried there, but it's just not going to be funny for anybody.
Yeah, it's just not going to work out. Servant Berserker says Arthur Morgan drinking with Lenny. Okay, so there you go, Red Dead. Having to fight the escaped carnival animals in Yakuza was pretty damn funny. God, I feel so... That's weird. I don't remember that part. Oh, South Park. Dude, that's correct. John D. Gaff says the South Park games were pretty damn funny. Stick of Truth was hilarious. I would agree. That is, you are right, man. I miss those games. And though they were going out of there to be funny, though they had some great parts. Yeah, definitely. That's a good suggestion. Abbreviated Review said, I thought Dispatch demo had some pretty funny lines in it. I'm still looking forward to that game. Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, Dispatch looks awesome. Saving the Normandy with a toothbrush did make me laugh. I don't remember that.
I don't either. Was that in Mass Effect?
Yeah. Unless you're talking about a World War II game, you're saving beaches in Normandy with a toothbrush, which, hey, it's possible. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. Let's see. Black Myth is coming out. Let's see. What is it this week? Next week for Xbox. So more people will be able to jump into that. That's exciting. I can't wait because I know a bunch of people who just didn't have a PC that would run it, didn't have the money for a PlayStation as well, but that was like the only game they wanted to play. And like the ability for people to jump into that, I'm excited. I mean, I'm excited if it lands well and does well. And
it's
then Helldivers.
Not Game Pass, right? Just to confirm.
I don't think so.
I don't believe it's Yeah, because we got AC Mirage in there.
Yeah, they're Game Pass and just Game Pass this month. But yeah, they did a good job. There's a lot of good games. And then Helldivers also coming out in just a little bit. And that's mind blowing to me, man. Mind blowing.
Yeah.
Mind blowing. And then I actually thought this was interesting, and you posted as well. Japan. Let's talk about Japan. And we're not going to talk about like anime and weird shit. This is a report that says 3 million less players in Japan reported this year compared to 10 years ago. So instead of growing, it shrunk.
Yes. So actually not that long ago. So let me see here.
Not that long ago?
No, it is. So 2014.
Yeah.
48 million and some change. And then
now
2024.
Yeah.
54.
So that's gone up
correct?
10.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, I think you're looking at the population, brother.
Looking at the wrong thing. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you're right. That is the population. So the population's gone up, but
3 million less players.
PC gamers
PC
is
gamers.
3 million less as of 2024 compared to 2014.
Now, here's the thing, dude. Have you ever gone around and got polling before? Have you ever done anything with polling?
No.
So polling's notoriously not only ineffectual, it's like just absolute balls out, sometimes completely wrong. It depends on where you go, who you ask, how you get the data. You know, if you go to McDonald's and ask everybody where a gourmet meal is, you know, you might be going to the wrong fucking people is all I'm saying. So
yeah,
when you look at this, whatever, 3 million. That I think that if it was equal, it'd be a story, and if it was barely more, it'd be a story. The fact that it's less is a story to at least talk about, which does seem like, reporting wise at least, there were less. Which, yeah, that's an interesting situation. I don't know why. I would say maybe they're reporting PC only, which is what it sounded like. They went to mobile.
Yeah, mobile is huge.
Mobile's huge. It's huge in Japan. It's huge elsewhere. But I mean, I would say I wouldn't be surprised if like there's more gamers than ever, and they're just on mobile. You know, they're doing mobile games, and they're having no issues with that.
Yeah, dude, I hadn't thought about that, because if they're doing like phone calls to ask people, hey, are you a gamer?
Yeah, right. Or, or emailing somebody, and we all know we screen stuff. I mean, you know, where are you doing your polling? Are you doing it, you know, via online? Well, guess what? You're running into 75 spam filters and whitelists and blacklists that people use for their block. You know, it's very difficult to get proper polling data. But regardless of that, it was less, which is even more surprising. Because like I said, if it was less of a growth, I'd be interested. If it was not growing, interested more. Less is still very interesting, even to identify where they went. And yeah, I think they're probably still there, and there's probably even more. But yeah, they go to mobile and they're not reporting. Dude, I'm telling you, you can't. This is what is crazy to me. You can't pretend like polling doesn't have issues when we all know that one of the major discussions currently is about privacy. Nobody who engages in any kind of privacy stuff is going to fill out a fucking poll. Let alone if you're lazy, let alone if you don't give a shit why somebody's doing a poll. I'm playing Genshin Impact, man. I got my chick in her panties running around. I don't care about your fucking poll. Like, what the? Well, that's a weird sentence, but you get my drift. Like, who gives a shit? These people, dude, I play games for a living. If I got a poll, do you think I'd answer it? No, I'm playing a game. I don't report to you. There's no date. It's not going to be useful. The marketing data isn't useful. What's useful is the money I put down on a game. It's not because some jackass at an ad company is able to say this and this and so said this. It's all neutered and mowed down anyway to be averages. It's like whenever you go to a company that goes away from normal, I guess you would call it normal evaluations, and instead goes to the self-evaluation, where now you like type in your stuff and use either AI or your manager neuters it down into where it's like, you know, Karak could work on this, you know, and you're looking at it going, is that a real thing? Or is that like, was that just added because I had some good positives? Are the positive things really positive because it makes it toothless? These kind of reports make it toothless. I mean, they didn't even mention the mobile thing. It's like people gone to mobile.
True.
You know, like, come on.
And even,
Japan.
You know, they're talking about the market growing. That could include the mobile gaming. Yeah. Right, we don't know exactly.
Yeah. So this does bring me to that part of the question, and I covered it again yesterday, unfortunately. I don't think people are really So PC market growth is great, for sure. I love it. I like that people have PCs. I like that they have consoles, what have you. But I just don't think people are putting two and two together sometimes. And when I say people, I mean people that directly, this argument comes back. Those people, not everybody listening or you. The majority of consoles are made for one thing, games or YouTube or movies at the very most. And for the majority of their lifespans, they weren't. PCs are everything. And so the idea that somebody may report less gaming on a PC, but they still consider themselves a PC gamer, isn't surprising to me. Because if you have a friend who's bought a PC to game, notoriously, what happens after 2 or 3 weeks of them getting accustomed to the video card? They're using it and they're playing and watching YouTube, or they're watching YouTube and listening to Spotify, and then they're playing games on the side. That is a multi-use device. It is not a gaming device. Like that, it can also game. But whenever we start talking about like the growth of PC stuff, and I think a lot of people think, oh, that means one more person will be playing a game. It's like, they might, but that device is intrinsically different than a console, which is very specific for a certain thing. I mean, it's one of the reasons why they even removed some of the streaming stuff that used to exist on the prior systems, because they just didn't see use on the console. Right. They see use on the PC.
So PC gaming is inherently hard to track as well.
Yeah, it's hard to track, and it's hard to track a one-off. Like if somebody buys a Mazda You could assume if you did well by them, they might return to buy that particular car again, because it's a transportation device used for a very particular thing. A PC is a multi-use device. It's like wondering, so somebody buys a multi-tool for their pocket. You don't know which of the 75 multi-tools on that multi-tool they'll use the most. All you know is that they bought a multi-tool, and that's the end of your information. There is no information past that unless you do the one thing that is notoriously terrible, which is a poll. That's the problem. That's where the entire cyclic nature of all this shit starts to fall apart. And you will hear people talk for ages about how it proves this or proves that. It proves fucking nothing. All it proves is the purchase has occurred. It doesn't prove that they will play more or they will buy more into the industry. That's the other thing. That's what's
missing too, is the granularity. Because you could say, I'm a PC gamer, because you bought a PC, like you said, and you booted up, Stardew Valley
or
a few
Clash
times.
of Clans. You're a Facebook player at that point.
Is that the same as someone who has 300 games on Steam? No. Those
exactly. Yeah. So this news is cool to hear, and have that data, but I don't know what it means other than
I don't think we can draw any conclusions whatsoever. It's just kind of like, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Sort of. I think it is questionable, especially because the more I'm sort of diving into some of the stuff and more, look at channel stuff, the more you look at all this stuff, the number of people who will pop off in a podcast, specific data means this. It's like, usually that's the start. The first time you get solid data is the beginning, not the end of like that conversation about it. I would say mobile. Yeah. When you look at it, man, it's just one of those things. Robert even says, I barely give attention to ACG's poll. That's what my wife
says. Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
I did see another Japanese study that popped up. This was Japanese women's top 5 turnoffs. This was BizHit's survey, if people want to look it up. So, do you want to guess what the number 1 turnoff?
Oh, top 5. I thought you said stop 5 turnoffs, and I was like, they stop 5 turnoffs before their destination.
Okay,
the fuck, they're the worst drivers. Top 5 turnoffs.
What would you imagine is the first one? Like top
loudness or abrasiveness, aggression, probably the side hobby of anime or games, I would assume. And now we're talking about boyfriend or husband turnoffs, because I know that they deal with husbands and boyfriends differently in Japan.
Honestly, I don't know. But you're getting warmer. Yeah.
Well, if I guess none, I'm actually blown away, because I know abrasiveness and loudness are huge turnoffs.
It's kind of adjacent. So I'll just tell you.
Yeah, go for it.
Then the first, with 13.3%, is video game spending.
Yeah, exactly.
So
the hobby stuff.
Men who are spending money in video games, apparently that's the biggest turnoff. Second, with 9%, is addiction to gambling.
Yeah.
Which, we know that's big with gacha and all that.
Huge.
Spending beyond means.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's a bit more.
Frugalness is huge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then spending money on idols.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly, like idols. What are we talking?
Idols
Could be
are
like music?
No, they're your music idols, your special character. You're like your sort of fake avatar, video avatar that exists over there, and there's a shit ton of them. But I will say, I feel like right now this person took 5 out and of 1, because I was expecting 5 different things. These all feel like the same thing. Spending too much, spending too much. I'm surprised facial hair isn't on there, because I know that like that is not huge. So the idea that facial hair isn't on there is actually quite, because culturally that is not.
I think they just can't really grow facial hair.
I don't know.
Genetically.
I don't know.
And the last one was splitting bills.
No, that's all money stuff. That doesn't make any sense. That's all money stuff. They did a piss poor job on that. They should have been like the 5 totally different. Because right now that would just be like being loud, being abrasive, being aggressive. But
there's a cross section between all of those.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the people that you probably some jackass with a YouTube. I don't know why holding their little baby mic, because that became cool to hold the little baby mic instead of like having it actually mounted somewhere. They're walking around, hey, what do you hate the most about guys? And they're in the financial district of Japan. It's like, what do you fucking think you're gonna get? If you get a chance, go to one of the love hotels. Maybe ask that question there. Maybe you get a slightly different answer on what people hate the most. That'd be like going to downtown Brooklyn or going to Portland, Oregon, and asking that question and being surprised that you have different answers. It's like you need to have a wide, like, I guess a wide sampling rate for that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
yeah, because I would be blown away that facial hair wasn't on there. Like that just seems. Because, man,
dude, I would imagine it's a turn on because like not a lot of people have facial hair, so they'd be like, dude, you're like this.
My wife doesn't
Viking
like it either,
god.
Man. She
No?
Chinese descent. She hates it, man. She is not a fan.
Damn, really?
Not a fan. Yeah, I mean, has grown accustomed to it in the same way you grow accustomed to somebody smelling like meat and potatoes. Probably, I have no clue, but like grown accustomed to it because it's not changing at any time soon. But absolutely clean, business shaven was definitely a much higher. It's just something that you don't grow up with, and and yes, you could have a person who's like, I do like that because I didn't, but a lot of times that's just not going to be the thing. Yeah, and you can make it look scruffy too, which looks dirty. There's all ways where I can see it making sense. I mean, you see that everywhere though, right? Dude, I meet people like even my best friends' wives or girlfriends. Some will love it, some will not. Some will love a certain way of dressing, some will not. It's not that fucking surprising. People have differences. Like, dude. That's why even a poll like this, let me give you the top 10. Top 10 to fucking who? Like, dude, come on. We live in a world that embraces individuality, and then we go down a street and ask everybody for their top 10 and put them together. It's like, at what point do we just say mankind's fucked if we can't figure out polling correctly, or we can't figure out how to do a poll correctly? I would say the gambling, the gotcha thing. I see some Reg, when he walked around, he said he did see females and males at a lot of the gotcha, the little...
yeah,
but yeah, I could see that as being that's a turn off to anybody though, man. If you see that kind of when somebody's out of control, when they
any form of gamble, it could be slot machines, it could be going to the casino, anything. I wouldn't mess with that, man.
Yeah, I gambled a lot when I was younger.
Did you?
Yeah, but the person I was dating was fucking absolutely shit ass crazy. So like it didn't seem to be an issue, but I could absolutely see it being because there's a worry of your future, man. If gambling's called gambling, it's not called fucking winning. If it was, I'd be a billionaire.
True.
It's called gambling.
Oh, dude, it's so right there in the name.
It's right there in the fucking name. Yeah, it's just like, dude, it's not called winning. Jesus Christ. So the idea of somebody like wanting to build a future with somebody else, where let's say you make $5,000 in a month, you've got a pretty good job. If you're a gambler and you're spending out of that, it doesn't mean you can't even plan, because like you have no clue if that unless somebody were to say like, let's cut it and be
unless
like,
you're the
you
most
always have a certain amount of money.
Gambler.
Yeah,
exactly.
With
the rainy day fund and
dude, responsible gambler is such a weird thing to say. It's almost like having a 4.7 on Uber is completely different than having a 4.7 as a fucking gastro surgeon. If I had a 4.7 on Uber, I'd be like, I'll still go for a drive with that guy. He probably had a couple people. He's a dick to somebody, whatever. But if I go in to have like a massive gut repair and that guy's got a 4.7, I'm like, bitch, I don't want no
4.7's pretty good. He nailed most of them.
Yeah. And he's doing like 50,000 a year. And then you start looking at the numbers and you're like 4.750. Oh, Jesus Christ.
So what happened to these 100 people? Like
more than 100, I think, if you're getting it definitely matters on what you're doing, right? At the same time. Speaking of what we're doing, let's get back on track, man. This is a gaming podcast. How dare you pull me aside to talk about something completely different? I don't believe you, Johnny.
Outrageous.
You're consistently, it's outrageous. But no, we're talking about the Japan news. That was news. Games, in Japan, less people supposedly playing on PC. I think I just told you about it. I don't think you saw the news. When it comes to the Call of Duty last mission overlapping with multiplayer and single player, I think
is it Battlefield 6?
Did I say Battlefield? Sorry, Call of Duty.
No, you said Call of Duty. I just wanted to check.
It's Black Ops 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So this last level supposedly is gonna be like a mix of single player and multiplayer. I think Cross X-Fire or X-Fire Cross or something had some multiplayer, single player mixed together. Sounds like there'll be some extraction stuff. Dude, do you know how difficult that's going to be? Because what if the game isn't popular on the multiplayer side? Or what if they have multiplayer servers down? Do I just not get to beat the fucking game? Because there's nobody there to do whatever?
Bots at the very least. They gotta.
You got to. It sounds like it might be an easier thing, like I said earlier, like, hey, are we getting to this point where it's like, we'll just throw it off on the multiplayer people to make this last level fun. But it's like, what if, or trolls, they show up and they decide not to help you. You know, if it's an extraction game and you've got like 5 guys who are extracting you and they aren't going to
can't progress or something. Like,
and you know it's going to happen. I mean, I would even think about doing it as a joke. I mean, but it's like if that was somebody's last level and you go in there and you impact it, we don't have enough data now to know what it is. But
for us to see that a single player game, you know, the only other time I can remember this happened was, I want to say Demon Souls, which is an old-ass game, by the way. This was a PS3 game, but there was this level where the boss would actually be a player. So you go into this boss arena, and the idea is that another player in that boss arena would take over the boss, and you would have like a PvP encounter instead. I don't know exactly how it worked. And of course, sometimes it would be a bot, right? If it doesn't find a player.
Okay. So that was going to be my next question. So you're saying if there was a person available, that person could take on the boss. I'd take on being the boss. If they were not available, the game would default to a bot.
That's what I understood at the time that was happening. And that's pretty unique. I don't think it's really happened.
It's got to be hard, man. It's got to be hard. I don't mind the idea, but it's got to be hard. I like that. I think Dark Souls might be a little easier, even though that could mean a guy who never attacks you and lets you kill the boss really easily, you know?
Yeah, because you will, one way or another, the fight will resolve itself.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah, very different idea. Hey, it is what it is. We'll just have to see. I'm not against it. I just thought...
No. I think a PvE level could be fun and could be a cool narrative or part of a narrative in a cool way. But it has to be integrated well.
Got to nail it, especially because Black Ops, I like Call of Duty. I like Black Ops sometimes. I like both of them sometimes is what I meant to say. But Black Ops is notoriously, I would say, known to be the more story-based, the more, you know, or more intricate story-based, the ones that deal with like, you know, brainwashing or whatever, you know, there's always something a little unique on those. The idea that you're going to jump in here, you really don't want to screw somebody's last level up, right? Like I could see it being the first level because then the rest of the game might be awesome. But the idea that, let's say somebody gets all the way to the end and that last level turns out to be shit because I'm playing the extraction team and choose not to help them or whatever happens. You know, I could see that being difficult. Like the idea though. I like the I mean, that is something unique. That's one thing. I can definitely say I haven't heard of it, you know, as being like a big deal, a thing that's been repeated a bunch. So I don't know if Call of Duty is necessarily the best litmus test for seeing how well people work together in the last mission. God, can you imagine if it was multiplayer and they were against you, though? Do you know how hard that would be? You got some ace player who's been just absolutely secreting nothing but Call of Duty codes from their fucking pores for like the last 5-6 months. You decide to jump in and have a great time playing your multiplayer game, and suddenly these juicers are just squeezing you consistently from like a mile away. 360 no scope, and you know, so suddenly you're used to fighting the bots, even on hard. You're like, there's some grenade spam, but you're getting past it. You've worked. You know, you've added another 20 hours because it's difficult, but you're like, I've got this, man. I've succeeded. And then you go in, and the first thing you see is like 90 guys on screen leaping up in the air and spinning to 360 no scope you, and you just know they're people, and you're like, fuck, shit. That would suck. That would suck, man. That would. It would be a very crazy situation to have the player end up winning that particular battle. I just don't see how that would be possible. Somebody says also that mechanic is kind of like what Deathloop did with Julianne, with she can invade you as an NPC. Oh, for the Dark Souls one? Yeah, I hadn't heard about it for some reason. I guess I just missed it. A lot of stuff that's easy to miss in gaming these days, especially something like that with an end boss. Still a cool idea overall. What are some of the coolest ideas in a game you've ever played? Has there ever been something that popped up like a I think the It Takes Two guy, with his co-op stuff is obviously, he is co-op now. I think we can agree. I mean, I know some people would be like, oh, every game's got co-op, but I'm saying this guy's been able to basically somehow squeeze out the best parts of co-op for 3 solid games, and not only do it well, but deliver every part: sound, music, voice, gameplay, story, characterizations on 3 different. I think that's something that, like, you could say that guy knows his shit. But
that's almost a unique success case. Nobody's that consistent.
Yeah, that it's pretty nuts.
Much.
But has there been like, let's say you're playing a game, there's a little little mini game in there that you were like, damn, I think this is a great idea, or something that changes up at a particular time that you were playing a game that you liked?
Yeah, there's some things in the end of Split Fiction. Yeah, Split Fiction.
Don't spoil
this latest one from them. Yeah, won't spoil exactly what, but they did some stuff with split screen that I just never thought was possible, and it was so smooth too, because they nailed the performance. So you wouldn't, even though a lot was going on screen, it wouldn't ever like drop or stuff like that. Just flowed. It was really, really incredible to see, and it kept pushing further. So you thought, wow, this is insane, and now it's like taking that to the next level.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool when somebody has that ability to just nail it, Oh, do we have any questions in Discord, by the way? I only posted that later in the day, but I think somebody asked something.
I liked also just another thing that came to mind is the giants in Shadow of the Colossus, the Colossi.
Yeah.
Is that the correct plural?
That's correct pronunciation, yeah.
Sounded a bit pedantic. Yeah. Yeah, they were awesome. And like this magnitude of something that big, and you being this flea that's like, getting on their backs with a little poker. That fiction was awesome.
Yeah, they did a great job with that. That was a really unique feeling game overall. They also did well on the fiction, the starkness. There was a lot different in that game, or a lot unique in it.
We do have a few questions.
Let's go.
This one from Kel. Helldivers 2 has teased an ODST crossover. That got me thinking about Halo and marketing, and how amazing the Believe campaign for Halo 3 was. In your opinion, what is the best video game marketing campaign you've ever seen?
I mean, Cyberpunk's made us think it was going to be a good game.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, we got fed a lot of marketing.
The best.
I think Elden Ring did an incredible job.
What did they do? Magazines or movies? Or magazines or TV shows?
They rode the coattails of George R. Martin a little bit in the beginning, because that was the big thing, is that the world building was going to be written by him. And of course, he, at the time, he still is massive, right? Anytime you name drop him, you're going to
he definitely needs to slim down
in your hands.
Oh, we're talking about different things.
Fair.
But yeah, I get what you're saying.
God damn it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
just fucking
no, it's true. He does need to hop on the elliptic a little bit.
The Peloton.
Yeah,
I love that guy, but I always get worried when somebody gets older and they're like super, super big. You're always like nervous for them, especially. It's going to sound weird and very self-serving for a lot of people who think this way, but especially if you like them and you like what they do. I like William Shatner, and he's a bigger, heavier guy. He's like 94 or something. He's still walking around out there, out talking Neil deGrasse Tyson. But I'm always like, dude, maybe should have some oatmeal in the morning. But at the same time, I'm like, maybe, I mean, dude, you do work out your heart. So maybe, a little bit of that heavy setness is why it seems like cranky old men.
Because it could be the difference between, getting
10
out
more
your
years
2
and-
remaining books or not.
Yeah,
So-
that is true. Yeah. But back to what you were saying. So they rode the coattails of George R. R. Martin. Yeah, there's a little bit of a dispatch
Yeah,
there. But
and I think that brought the otherwise niche Souls franchise to a mainstream.
right, but I'm
Literally
saying I think
everybody
he's
was talking
asking how you saw it. Was it a commercial? And what about the commercial? He's talking about the PR campaign. Was it a magazine cover?
It was trailers.
Okay.
It
trailers.
it was commercials. We saw also plastered all over our big buses. You know, we have these 2 floor buses here, the double deckers. You know, you would see it there, and every time you would say story by George R. R. Martin, even though the story is not by him, but they play the card, right? And fair play, fair hustle.
So do you say these buses are thick, or do you say these buses are deep? Like if they're 2-story, like how would you, like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, is that thick to you or is that deep? And when you say it, do you say it with that? Like when you see a double-decker bus, do you guys have slang for it? Are you like, that's a double D, which is going to sound a little racy? Like, what do you call a double-decker bus when it drives by?
I never thought of it that way. I think it's completely.
Is it just double-decker?
Opening my mind to that.
Is that so? Like, if I
think
said,
the double D is a missed opportunity.
I
to
feel
never
like it's a
have
big
used that term.
Yeah. Or if I came to visit you and you weren't going to pick me up, but there were 3 buses and you said, Karak, the bus you need to get on is that deep one. Or do you say that double D, or do you say the double decker bus? What would you tell me if there were 3 bus choices and I had to get on one and it was the double decker bus? What would you tell me to get to you? Would you just say double decker?
That big one, it's boring. Your stuff is better.
Yeah.
The double D's,
Yeah, I have a feeling because you've known me for a while, you'd be like, get the throat goat bus. And I'd be like, I know exactly what I'd be like, okay, I know the double decker. Anyway, moving on from there. But so the commercials were good. Dude, it's been so long. Like mine were magazines and stuff. Like, Elden Ring was good because I saw just a normal commercial is good. I think I don't really remember any. Robbie the Robot, which is like when I was super, super young, the NES robot I remember thinking, wow, that's like a, robot at your house. And it wasn't at all.
I also think that now marketing has gone so much towards the influencers, putting out viral content. So what most people will remember is probably some streamer having a viral moment, talking about a game or showcasing something in the game, compared to an ad. Let's be honest, some of us don't ever see ads because we either pay for premium or, whatever it may be.
Yep.
So I think it's much more that these days,
Dude, and you're absolutely right about that. It's like, it's not the Me Too movement, it's the me movement when it comes to ads. It's always about the streamer. It's not about the game. It's like, look at the streamer. Oh, in the corner, I was playing this game. And you're like, oh, then the game must be good. It's like, jackass. Come on. But back in the day, they had really good Ford and Chevy commercials. I still remember when one of them said, we're the number one truck sales in the world. And it was something like, we might not be, I can't remember what it was, but it was like multiple truck where they were one-offing each other, Ford and Chevy. And by the end of the commercials, a Chevy pickup had a Ford pickup on its bed and was also pulling like 5 Fords behind it. And they were just one-upping each other. And I thought that was very well done. I would also say Genesis does what Nintendo don't is pretty well done because they took Nintendo's name. And then I think Nintendo said Nintendo is what Genesis isn't or something like that. Nintendo tried to do, I can't remember, but they tried to do something where it's like that friend who tries to say, I know you are, but what am I? That kind of stuff.
Dude, how is that legal, by the way, to name drop a competitor?
Well,
in your
because
ad?
they said, they didn't say Sega, they said Genesis and, the Nintendo one. Yeah, no, you're right. Nintendo.
So like those
Genesis
ads, the car ads where I think it was Jaguar and.
Oh, how do they do it?
Mercedes
so back then,
going back
they
and
were
forth
doing it all
with
the time. Yeah, back then Ford and Chevy would. I don't know how, IP wise.
So it's just allowed, I guess, to shit talk your.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what the best non-gaming commercial ever was, ever in history, and it will stick with me. Probably be the last thing I remember as I slough off this earth via multiple coronaries. It's a Rainier beer commercial. I don't even know if they still are in existence. And I was about 8 when I saw this because beer commercials were just shown all the time on normal TV. And it was a guy on a motorbike driving towards the Rainier Mountain here. And as he was driving it, the motorbike sound went Rainier beer. And I remember being like, that might be the best commercial I've ever seen in my life because that was it. There was nothing else. It was like just this beautiful scenic thing with them using, sound effects to get the motorbike to sound like it was saying Rainier beer as it drove towards the mountains. And I remember just being like, fuck. Because it didn't have to say anything. It was like, that is the greatest commercial. Because I remember talking to friends about it years later and being like, oh, dude, did you guys ever see this old commercial? People were like, holy fuck, that was amazing. None of us drank beer, but it was just one of the coolest, it was an intelligent commercial that didn't dive down to saying Genesis is what, that kind of stuff. It was just like, it was just them. It was Mount Rainier. So it was just this scenic, amazing looking mountain at sunset and a motorbike.
Yeah.
And you can look it up on YouTube. I believe it still exists on YouTube, but yeah, phenomenal.
Dude, that's kind of a lost art, ads, because even the ones you do see today,
absolutely a lost art. Yeah.
They're crap.
Can we talk about the worst ones though, Johnny? Remember the PlayStation commercial? Isn't it a white lady holding a black baby up for the PS3 or something like that, where it was like brain dead? I think it was a magazine. It was like a magazine or something, and it was like a European. I can't remember if it was a white lady holding a black baby, but it was between the PlayStation 3 and maybe its precursor, or maybe it's maybe the slim version or something like that. And I remember seeing it and just being like, what the shit? Like, that is brain dead. Like, what were they thinking doing that commercial? Thank you very much for the super chats and the podcast. What is that? Podcast gift memberships. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, BT Maverick. Yeah, those. Oh, billboard. Phoenicia says billboard. That was a billboard. That shit was crazy, man. It was just like absolutely out of the blue. Not something I ever expected to see. It was just, oh yeah, a lot of AI in advertising. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, man. There's not much you can do about it. It's just, even the Super Bowl ads are whack. Yeah, we see a lot of that kind of stuff. Back in the day, man, they had some good ads and some bad ones, some brain dead ones. Like I said, that one was weird. But how about the Real Man of Genius commercials? Is that the most interesting man in the world commercials? Are those the same one? Because the most interesting man in the world was one of the best commercials, because he didn't say he drank all the time. He said, when I do drink, I drink Dos Equis. And I was like, the extra step of that, he's not a guy who's drunk all the time, but when he occasionally drinks with the supermodels that are on his boat, he's the most interesting man in the world. It was so,
That's
dude, it was
genius,
so,
man.
it was genius, because that extra step, somebody was like,
yeah,
it wasn't the playboy, I'm cool, I'm playing football with my friends, I'm the best, I caught the winning pass. It was a laid back dude who he looked good because he just looked good, and be like, when I do, and you're just like, damn, okay, that got me.
Yeah, I used to be fascinated with ads and how the finesse, with the words they choose and everything. I remember when I was watching Mad Men like 10 years ago or something, they talked about like all these different ads that were popular and why they were really intelligent, and so much stuff that as an observer you don't see, the behind the scenes, the why certain things.
Yeah,
it was really cool.
And some of the best ones are the ones that I'll go out there and say the best ones for games, the best ones for pretty much everything, are always not a product I will ever use. The ones that I think are the best ones have never been a product I've used. They've always been, like I said, beer. 2 or 3 of the beer ones have been phenomenal. Just like, I don't know who it is. I don't know how they figured this out, but like those guys in particular know how to dial into the sort of the secondary art of being interesting to everybody and not like pulling you out of it and going, this isn't for me. It's also because both of them don't put beer as the center stage. In fact, the Rainier beer one didn't put beer in the stage. It was at the end. It said Rainier beer at the very bottom. That was it. So you got through the entire 40-second commercial, and you're like, what is this for? And then you hear beer and you're like, oh, okay, I get it. And the Dos Equis one, it's like it's about this guy and the sort of the sweet laid back music. The Volvo truck. Oh, John Clyde Van Damme Splits commercial. That was amazing. Yeah, that was a phenomenal commercial, man. Yeah, I forgot all about that one. That was great. I just don't see him very much anymore. I don't watch TV too much. I see NFL game here or there. Amazon commercial pops up.
Yeah, I saw one with Brad Pitt where I think it was a coffee ad, but he's riding a motorcycle in it, and then he just like stops to buy some fresh beans, and he's just being like Brad Pitt and like masticating the way he always does, and like that's the ad, you know? It's really? Like, yeah, it's like people want to be Brad Pitt. He's buying these beans. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, some of the best ones. I'm thinking about good game ones. The Halo one's obviously good with the diorama. I was very disappointed that entire scene wasn't in the game. So I came out of that commercial being quite disappointed because they pretended like this big scene of a particular battle was going to be in the game. Nowhere in there.
Nope.
So it was this weird thing where you're like, wait, what? Like, that was because I think it's because that commercial caught on so big. They had fake vets. Now, I don't know how that would work now. Admittedly, having vets pretend they were in war, in a space war, in a commercial. I don't know if some ad group or somebody would be like, how dare you, disrespecting our vets. Most of the people I know who watched that commercial and loved it were vets. That's who I surrounded myself with for like decades. They loved it. So I'll just say the people I talked to who are vets had no issue, loved it. Great commercial. But it wasn't in the game, and that pissed me off to no end. It was just such a weird situation to have them be like, this is what it's going to be about, and it wasn't. And you're like, all right, but hey, whatever.
Yeah.
Finish the fight. Yeah, those were good ones. The classic.
Yeah, Gears has had some good music choices as well and stuff.
Their music choice,
the covers.
Yep,
like and Metallica, the other one.
Oh, but the best one was not REM. It was Mad World was probably the one. Best fucking commercial.
Iconic.
Dude, it was, and the dichotomy of that song, the action starting to come up at the end, that was one that I remember. And dude, I'm telling you, Gears was phenomenal in one sense. You couldn't believe it was going to look that good, and it did. It was quite interesting to see. This was one of the first games I can say generally what they showed in trailers or videos turned out to be generally what was in the game. Maybe there were some resolution issues, but it was like, and I remember that music starting. And by the way, if you follow any like advertising not web pages, but influencers like Rory or something like that, they will tell you that one quite literally made a genre. That is why you get so many. Yeah, it was so popular that the ones done before, no one cared. And the ones done after, every fucking person, including Gears, tried to hit that same exact beat because they were like, this. Dude, I heard random people talking about it, just being like, that. And maybe they like the music and we're like, oh, what's that song? Whatever. Yeah. And what's this thing going on? Is that a movie? Because they don't know, if you don't, you might think the game trailers for, especially the way he was acting and moving around, you might think, that's not a game.
Or you know how it is, anime. You recognize the melody, but you don't know what song it is. It's just in the culture, somewhere.
Dude, that was actually sort of a touch. See, I'm a big fan of dichotomies. Like I said, separating and having a like I said, beer and all that stuff, which weird. I just thought of this, Rainier beer, and it shows a guy driving a motorbike, which is drinking and driving. But regardless, I like the separation. And the more the separation, the better. The more odd, and if they hit it. And dude, picking music for your trailer or what have you is quite difficult. For example, I think that, in just being honest, I think the ones I've seen for Superman with the music are nowhere near as good as Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy's music montage stuff that he chose in Guardians 1 in particular with the mixtape was perfection. It was like, damn. And you hear him say, hey, listen, I make sure that they hear the music so they can walk on the beat. They know what music's playing at the exact time that's in the movie. That's going to be in the movie. Dude, it's phenomenally smart also, because then you can hold a camera shot longer if you know the beat of the song.
And you're reacting to the music, right? Because the way like he danced or moved
so
and stuff.
fucking good. And just when they're walking and they start playing like a Tears for they were playing Fleetwood Mac or whatever, one of my favorite songs, one of my favorite bands. And I remember they were playing, I was like, and it brings in nostalgia out of the blue that you didn't expect, adds it onto the movie. That if they do that in commercials, the same thing works.
Fighting some people to the death, to the tune of that, it is the contrast.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. One of the most amazing ones to me is also at the end of Iron Man, when they of course they play Iron Man, obviously I thought of
the
it.
First movie.
Yeah. I remember just being like, and then Triple X has Adrenaline by Gavin Bush, I think, and they have little Tron style blueprint graphic going on, and it's just this fairly light rock music, fairly light rock adrenaline. I'm gonna go do a bass jump music. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like I'm pretty cool. We're gonna do some extreme stuff, but not too extreme kind of music. But it fit the movie, and I was like, oh shit, that's one of the best ending tracks I've heard in a long time. Like that fit that movie. And when you get those are great. And the same thing with commercials.
What about that? Is there an ending track for a game? So like as credits starts to roll, or you finish the game, was there ever a track? I'll tell you, for me, like Hellblade 1 had a really good one.
And I remember, it's so funny, I was going to say Hellblade 2, but then I knew it wasn't Hellblade 2. So it was Hellblade 1 that had the amazing one? Because I remember.
It was perfectly like syncopated to what was happening, and it hit like a truck with the emotional moment.
But for me, it's Mass Effect 1. It was like the on the guitar, and it was a synth. It was like a guy, but it was like, there was something about it. It was not, listen, a lot of times it's going to be a female singer because of range and because of empathy. There's all kinds of reasons why you might choose. And I've seen some games go, we're not doing that. Red Dead 1, when John is going to his last, moments, it plays this music and you're like, that's phenomenal. But I didn't choose that because you said at the very end, and that's not a fair, that was in the middle. But with Mass Effect 1, that was one of those times where I was like, and I don't even love the song. I love the impact of that song on my feeling of victory, but it's sad because people died. You know that the future is it was Jack Wall, I think, is the one who chose it. I can't remember who chose it, but one of the two composers for that game chose it. And I remember just being like, that guy knows how to, it's not just the general choice. It was like, hey, we want to do something that's a little bit like, it fits, but it may not instantly be, oh, this is the greatest song in the world, And I love it. Yeah, that kind of stuff is great.
Yeah,
and that music right at start just. Oh, sorry. What?
Nier Automata had a really good one. It's called
a lot of good
The Weight of the World, the track itself, and it was playing like a longer version of it as you were doing. If you remember, you had like this mini game in the end where, like as the credits were rolling, you were playing with a ship, and you were
a ship.
No, you were doing one of those bullet hell moments where the letters of the credits were stuff you were shooting and dodging and stuff.
Man, I don't remember that.
And you had to succeed there. There was a whole thing around that where like other players would help you, but they would have to give up their save file. It was kind of a really weird interaction.
Yeah, that I remember.
Yes, like towards the end, if you fail this bullet hell game, you need to view the credits from the very start once again, which is very long. But you could be saved by another player if that player gives up their save file. So their save file is erased. They no longer have the ability to like load their save, but they save someone else from failing the credits.
Wild Zone Gaming 7630 says, it's always nice when you find a song that you can associate with an item like a movie or a game, and that bad world definitely says Gears. Yeah. Any of these, there's something about it when it's like, when it's done well. I mean, dude, you could consider it a mental cheat in a way, because you are taking the memories, the nostalgia, all the musical influences from a song and putting them into a game and maybe add a little bit. But if they choose it good, and again, there's a bit of dichotomy there. That shit's. I'm trying to think of another ending one. I mean, Baldur's Gate had great ending credits. Outer Worlds. See, but those are just great music songs. They're not what we're talking about here, which are there's something special about the ending. This is why, and by the way, this is not like ending masturbation or anything, but I do feel that like if you don't play that in Nier Automata, right? If you were to skip the music in Mass Effect, and especially if you don't listen to the words in the Mass Effect song, because they directly have like a weird connection to the game, I do feel that you're missing something. So many times I wouldn't believe that, especially if it was just, let's say, a symphony, which I love. I'm all for, have no issue with those. But when you get the occasional game that tracks in, for example, the ending of Red Dead 1, if that music didn't play on your ride home, it wouldn't have hit a billionth as hard as it did because you knew something was going on. Like something, you hear the music in Red Dead 1, you're like, wait, what is going on right now? Like this is, and then if you know Westerns or whatever, if you sort of knew where this was going and what type of character John was, you were like, I have a feeling I know exactly what's, coming my way. And there was a feeling of dread in that where, like, I'm telling you, there were times where I was like, I don't really want to ride home. I sort of figure, because I sort of know what's happening right now. And that was even the very first time I played it. Yeah. Assassin's Creed Odyssey intro was really good. Did you guys anybody notice this in games? They keep pushing out the fucking title later and later in games. Wasn't it Odyssey that you played for like 3 hours before it said Assassin's Creed Odyssey? I feel like lately it's just been like, boom, we're going to throw out like this title screen 3, 4, fucking 5 hours into a 60-hour game. And you're like, dude, this is so weird, man. Like this, it's just odd. It's like, let's throw this out. You see that in
movies sometimes too now, where it's like 20 minutes in.
Where they throw the ending up. Yeah, it just...
So like the name of the movie will show up only way later.
Right. Yeah, it just, I don't know, feels weird to me. Feels like there's a plan there to like, maybe there's something there that's maybe there's some I guess some data is what I'm looking for.
Psychology
some
backing
data and
that.
Psychology that backs that up, that backs up that when somebody gets that far, maybe there's a feeling of, what would the term be? Like not success, but investment at that point. And by waiting that long, that investment becomes more,
I think they've optimized, the way they show stuff. Because if you look at an old movie from the 90s or whatever, you would have these lengthy intros to the movie where you're seeing all these names of people in the movie. And, maybe you have some graphic or whatever, and it's not even the movie yet. And that could be 5 minutes, man, in some of the older movies. But now, a lot of times you're straight into the action, right? And then they will give you a little opener. Thing.
Yeah, the MTV movie cut starting, I think, was considered The Rock from Michael Bay with the big actions cut and then drag out to the slow, which I loved, but you do get tired of seeing it all the time. Oh, Star Wars intros, somebody said. Yeah, Star Wars intros are always going to be, some of the best, especially that first one when the title scroll is going up and then the ship is flying at the top and then you see the other ship shooting.
That's also happening on YouTube where people start already, the thesis of the video. And then, 30 seconds in, they will take a break and say, by the way, hi, my name is Johnny or whatever, you know?
Yeah, it's all psychology, and all of the stuff that you see on YouTube, every single thing, every extended, you're starting to see videos going longer and longer, all based on ads. Has nothing to do with what the person wants to say. That's why you'll see it. The moment YouTube admits something about number or length of a video, just watch. Everybody's now doing, it's like, oh, because 30 minutes does this now. It used to be 8 fucking minutes. And I would always get shit from people for doing a 7-minute and 59-second one because I'm like, I don't know what else to say. I only had 7 minutes, 59. Like the video is going to make less. Yes. But what am I supposed to do? Like just stare at the fucking thing? And I'm not going to blather extra shit that I'm not thinking or don't believe to like extend it. And now it's 30 minutes, man. It's like, dude, that's ridiculous. It's insane. Auto podcast advertisements for this podcast currently, it basically puts these auto podcast ad sections down. You won't get all of them, but it puts down places where it can put in. And every time I have to go back, because the last time I was showing, I think it was Frankie, I had 137 advertisements.
Jesus.
Yeah.
On
so
YouTube?
It'll put 137 blocks and just be like, that's your auto. It doesn't mean a person's going to get 137. They know exactly how much a person can handle because they have your algorithm. So they'll be like, this person can handle 4, and they want it after Karak says a joke. They want it after Jonny does an intro. They want it after blank, blah, 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 and it knows. And so it gives them the 4 that are at these particular times. It's all so mechanical. So I just delete them all and put them in random places, which I have heard some complaints about, and I do hear those people. I have tried to make sure. There have been times where I'm just like, I'll put it in here, and I thought YouTube would be smart enough to be like, well, we're not going to put it right in the middle of a sentence. No, it was. That's on me, though. Rate by buy, rent, or never touch. By the way, my name is ACG. Yeah. The you're seeing a lot of people giving their rankings for stuff, for games, for airsoft, for whatever up front. And it's a different type of viewer that wants to see that versus wait to the end to see the review. And unfortunately, it also makes the conversation in the YouTube comments horrendous, because if somebody doesn't get through the context and they get it right in the first 30 seconds, they'll be like, I can't believe he hated this. And you're like, dude, it's a 45-minute video. It's been posted live for approximately 75 seconds. You did not get to the end. You didn't even stream to the ending to get to that. Come on, man. Come on. What else do we got? We got any other questions in there about gamings?
Yes. Got a few more here. This one from Speku. If you had to choose one, would you rather swap your eyes with your ears or legs with your arms?
Legs with arms, man, because we have a bunch of history where people have lost an arm or a leg and they have like put at least the toes on the hands, that kind of thing. So we know a little bit about how that would work. I feel like eyes on both sides of your head. Ears would be fine. You would have a little worse hearing. You would have pretty cool eyesight, but I feel like you just get punched in the face consistently, unless you heard them coming.
How do horses?
They move their ears.
Horses have this problem, don't they? Do they have a big blind spot here?
Oh, do horses? Yeah, horses will have the center, but you can. I mean, they're a prey. Technically prey, so they're still looking a little bit wider, but yeah, most animals are that way. Humans are very, when you really look at it, and especially if you're ugly as shit, you get a lot of people with the little beady eyes right up in front side of their nose. It's like, dude, you'd be snapping off fingers right here, and they wouldn't even pick up on it. You know, like you'll see some people with peripheral vision that's just vision, because it's like right here.
We try to form one 3D image.
Yeah, we're trying to get 2D
images, right? And it only works because the eyes are kind of like close enough for the images to more or less overlap. So if we had them looking to the sides, that just would be impossible. It
wouldn't be fun either, because like, how do you play a game, dude? Like this and shit?
Dude,
you know?
Okay,
like,
you would have to pick one.
Yeah.
You have
Now I already do that. I don't know about you, but a lot of people will do this kind of thing when they play a game. I was dating a girl who had she had astigmatism in one eye, but it was just barely there. And so when she'd play a game, she always looked like an eagle trying to figure out if you were worth eating. She'd be like, so you'd see her play a game and she'd get close because that was the good eye, and she'd be like, and it was scary.
Almost like someone who chews only on one side because they have like sensitivity or whatever. Yeah. But with the eye.
Dude, chewing on, I didn't even think about that. I do though.
Yeah.
I'm sure I do. You have a right and left side dominant chew, right? Don't you?
Yeah, I think so.
I think you do.
Yeah.
Dude, I told you about the time I almost broke my jaw here like last year with the frozen Snickers. Did I tell you about that shit?
Oh yes, I think you told me.
Dude, yeah. We were talking. We had a huge discussion where we sat yesterday and rated the best candies ever, and I mentioned I had froze a Snickers without thinking about it and almost broke my jaw. Like legit came really close. Out of the blue.
Did you just forget it was frozen?
No, Spetsu did the same thing. That's why I think that's why he's commenting, because he hasn't in a while. And we sat and chat yesterday and talked it up about all this stuff. And he's like, dude, are you kidding me? I've done that. You know why? It's because there are Snickers ice cream bars, and I had them recently. And I thought in my brain, because I wasn't putting attention, I thought I was going to make my own. And my brain said, oh, it's not breaking through yet. Just bite harder. And I remember my entire jaw went snap. And I was like, I'm fucked. It hurts so bad.
It's not supposed to click.
Dude,
oh god!
Click. It sounded like a bone breaking. It was not a click. It was like a snap, and I'm all, fuck, I'm gonna be paralyzed. I had no clue what happened. Yeah. Yeah, that was
God.
crazy. But yeah, we do, right? Yeah. Yeah, you eat on one side or the other, I'm sure. I'm trying to think of what side.
Yeah, I think arms would be really rough.
Arms would be.
You would need to. Yeah,
you could walk on them though.
Dude.
You could walk on them because, like, you see people who lose their legs and they, athletes. What are they? Para? No, that wouldn't be para, would it? I don't think that's the right genesis for that. But they do the athletics games where they'll run or they'll, without legs, as long as their arms are long enough, and they're strong. They're able to do it. I think you could walk on. It'd look weird if your legs, you'd look like a baby,
right?
But old.
But those guys use wheelchairs for that. If you had to
I'm talking about. Well, those guys do.
Really?
But, there's guys who have lost their lower extremity completely from the waist down and somehow lived, and you'll see videos and documentaries where they're just walking around their kitchen and they're like, I don't know a way to describe this. It might sound, I'm not trying to be derogatory, but I'm saying they'll leap onto a table because their arms are so muscular.
Well, what's cool too is like your weight obviously goes down if you're in that circumstance. Yeah. So it's probably also,
but it's also because the hands are, and the movement is way higher than the legs. Yes. And they can grab stuff. So you'll see them like leap onto a table and you'll be like, what the hell is going on? Because sort of like a monkey would grab onto things.
Because you have to develop so much, dexterity.
So I would say legs being replaced by
maybe it's
arms.
Possible. Yeah.
Be rough.
Dude, I'm just picturing you doing a handstand and walking around your kitchen.
Oh.
But not. Yeah, that's what I'm picturing.
You could technically say I can do a handstand for hours. And you would just be walking around. You'd be like, dude, you could win. Here's the real question. Could you win the Guinness Book of World Records for longest handstand if your hands were your legs?
Oh, dude.
I'm just saying, these are the questions that require
Yeah, these
answering.
are the questions. I mean, really, the biggest problem would be that what are now your arms, which
are your feet,
are your legs, your feet. Yeah. They're utterly useless for everything. So
push-ups would be easier. You wouldn't hurt your wrists.
Okay. Yeah, but anything that requires opposable thumbs.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
You're, grabbing a beer with your
Hang on. No, you can do it. It would be tough because I use my fingers to grab it. It could be tough, but you.
Oh, that's too funny.
Masturbation would be unique. It would be from the bottom. God. It would be from the bottom up, which might feel like another person. So it may be dramatically better. I don't know, but it would be tough to do a lot of stuff. Opening a door, you'd have to kick it.
It's like the reverse problem that T-Rexes have because they got the small
with their little tiny delivery hands.
Got really
those
huge,
poor guys,
long.
Those poor little dudes, man. I always think, everybody there's all this discussion. You know how the world likes to cancel everything. They're trying to cancel T-Rexes now, and they're like, well, technically, maybe they didn't use their legs. You just like, fucking shut up, man. I like to think of the T-Rex as this monstrous dude with these little tiny baby arms, just like a lot of the gym.
They're supposed to be a big chicken or something.
You know how the gym bros will have small legs because they only have waist-high mirrors and they won't lift, and you'll see that guy who's like, what's up? And you're like, not your legs, bitch. Like, look at those little beanstalks. Like, come on, man. You got to do some squats. But the idea of like, the Tyrannosaurus Rex to me was always like, why would he need those little baby hands? Those would be for like, I mean, I feel like that thing was a monster. It was just a mouth with feet.
It boggles my mind that got through evolution's filter. Like, really, didn't we select that out of existence, the useless tiny arms? We ended up committing to that.
Yeah, but I think they were saying that if it's the bird thing, that technically they just, as they transitioned through millennia, it went from wings to little tiny arms to they're all dead because of an asteroid. So we don't know.
I guess the whole point is that they don't really need the arms for what they do. That's it.
I mean, you see they show some skeletons from other genus who are on the side that do have bigger arms that were able to use them. So, in fact, I think one of them kills a Tyrannosaurus Rex in the second or third Jurassic Park movie because they thought the Tyrannosaurus Rex was going to be the big baddie, and every single Jurassic Park has to bring up another cooler dinosaur.
Oh, some other bigger.
Yeah, and it had hands, and I believe it held on to the Tyrannosaurus's neck with one hand, bit it, and then broke its neck. Which also, we do see animals breaking necks, and like you see particular birds will fly down and break a neck, but they don't necessarily grab it like a Brazilian jiu-jitsu artist and twist it to break the neck. It was sort of like, wait, what is this thing doing? But yeah, Tyrannosaurus Rex would be scary. Dude, think about it this way. If Tyrannosaurus Rex came after you, if you stood in the center, maybe it couldn't get to you. Because have you ever tried to try to give yourself a BJ? That's really hard. So you can't. So like if Tyrannosaurus Rex tries to lean down to get you, like you're right at crotch level, other than its genitalia, it tries to lean down. It can't get there, but it can't get its arm. Its little arms are
it's like a Dark Souls
rubbing
boss
against the side of your face,
where you just stick to the crotch and you're untouchable.
Yeah, you could probably. I think you could. I think a 12-year-old boy could take down a Tyrannosaurus Rex if he was trained well. I'm just saying.
With the right
you'd have
tools,
to have a sword. Maybe? Yeah, you'd have to have, or like that.
You just get down there in the crotch, man. You'd have to have the mini
tool that I was talking about earlier. You'd have to have like the corkscrew or something. You'd have to be able to get through that flesh. Dude, Tyrannosaurus Rex though, they were pretty scary. They were awesome.
They were.
I loved it. I love the idea that dinosaurs existed at one time. It sucks that we couldn't coexist. There's no way they would have eaten all of us before we, there wouldn't have been any evolving. Thank God for asteroids, at least that one. But I love the idea of what would, like, if the asteroid didn't hit, would we be lizard dudes? Would I be like,
if you could, would you bring them back? Like in the movie?
Are you talking about
like bring back
just
dinosaurs
to a reserve somewhere?
Sure.
No, fuck that. No. I know nature didn't select them. That's a misnomer from like Jurassic Park. It made no sense. I mean, unless you consider Mother Nature, meaning Gaia, it didn't choose that. An asteroid smashed into them. So they didn't necessarily have their chances, as the movie always loves to say. But they were wiped out. I don't think air-wise, I think bringing back extinct species is bad for the species, number one. It's just it's just their bodies are set up for something else. Number two, I just don't think anybody would care after the entertainment value was gone. Have you ever seen all those jackass pieces of shit who buy a tiger and then you find a story that like they left the tiger at the house and, because they were, I don't know, selling drugs like some piece of shit and they left, and you find out that there was like, they bought a shark and they only cared about it for a week until the coolness ran out. I think with humanity, we'd be like, oh man, because what are you going to get from it? Oh, we can study past life. We can do that already. And it's not going to make an impact. We're not going to suddenly discover something because you have a Tyrannosaurus Rex in your backyard, other than that you can become poop if it eats you.
I've watched way too many Discovery Channel specials. So I'm thinking like Megalodon versus sperm whale death match.
Dude, I just use AI right now to bring that back. That's close enough. Dude, what the human eye sees, even if you tell it it's not real, half the time you'll believe it anyway. I just use AI. Yeah, I don't think bringing back extinct animals makes any sense. I mean, I would love to bring back the Tasmanian tiger, a couple things that we hunted out of existence. Sure. If it was used to replenish current life, great. But if you're replenishing current life, it's current for a reason, meaning instead of replacing it, figure out a way to get those ones that are alive, as long as their gene pool's big enough. Because we do fuck things up. I mean, as a person who lived in a fishing family, it's like I did get to see what mass fishing looked like. And it's like, oh, wow, that is actually pretty crazy. Like, I can now see why some people are bothered by that. Like, there is some pretty crazy shit going on. But yeah, I wouldn't bring anything back. I'd love to see it, but I wouldn't bring it back. No. I would, if anything, I would bring back, this is going to sound weird, I would probably bring back our species, not one we evolved from, but one of the side species that tried and didn't make it like we did, to see what they looked like, or what they, just like how far along were they? Because
what if they turned out to be more intelligent than you over time?
Find out that like they had a short amount of time where they were, they're getting ready to build rockets and shit before we showed up, and because we were able to hump more or something more fertile.
They just needed a little push, a little hump.
Yeah. Well, everybody needs a little hump. I'm just saying.
True.
Occasionally got to throw a hump somebody's direction. What else we got?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to move
this
my dog.
one from that was a great question. Speku sparked a good discussion.
Betsu!
This one from
Keep calling him Speku. We always mispronounce his name, Spetsu. Yeah, continue.
Spetsu. Sully says, first game you ever played online with headset chat, for me it was SOCOM 3 on PS2 and Black Hawk Down on PS2. I'm still friends with gamers to this day from back then.
First game. Maybe, what's the game where you're robots and you can leap and slide? The biggest part of it was sliding. Oh, it's a mech shooter.
Titanfall?
No, way before that. No, this was a game that you could run. You basically thrustered up a mountain and you hit a slide button and you shot off the mountain. And we always talk about it. It actually came back for a small amount of time as a remake or a re-envisioning. It's a Metal Gear. Anybody know? I know Indio abbreviated reviews. I know he played it. Oh man. But I'm pretty sure that was the first multiplayer game I played with people on a headset. But it was, I think we were using I think we were using a third-party app. It wasn't in the game or anything. Not Vanquish. This is way before that, man. It's Metal Tactic. No. I'll look it up. Continue. What about you?
Probably Warcraft 3. A lot of the custom maps and stuff like that. And I think we were using TeamSpeak back then.
Tribes is the game I was talking about.
Tribes.
Yeah. You were using TeamSpeak back then?
Yeah.
TeamSpeak was a good one. Those were great, man. Like being able to talk to somebody in 28 kilobit glory, you know?
Yeah, they're trying to make a comeback. Now they got a modernized UI and stuff, and they're trying to mimic some of Discord's.
I don't know what I thought. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, we want to give you nostalgia and sound like shit. Yeah, man, I don't remember them being great either. I don't think I made my online leap until even after the Xbox original. I think mine was 360 is when I first started doing, because I did voice chat with Purple Santa about 14 years ago when I met him.
Damn.
Purple knows. He'll pop off if he's here. Yeah, I was like Purple Santa, National Cato, and a couple people from another website. We got together and played a bunch of games on 360, and I think that was my first like real, because all my friends were local.
Yeah.
It was still at a time where we were all living near each other. So
yeah, we would still do like, not LANs, but at this time I was in university, so we each had our dorm rooms. So we would bring each other's laptop to a single room.
Absolutely. Yep.
And we would just game, more than TeamSpeak. I think that's what we did. And then that transitioned into TeamSpeak.
After online became a thing, I always did LAN parties where when I lived in when I lived in the other city, when I was closer to some of these guys, even right before I left,
so fun.
It would be
like an all-nighter. Yep. Or just,
that would be one night. We would do 3.
Drinking
usually.
sodas together. Yeah, awesome.
We'd take days off, and I had plastic tables. I still got the plastic tables. You put the plastic table up, there'd be 3 people on this side, 3 people on that side. They bring over their TVs. Now I have a splitter and a huge projector. If I want to use it, I don't use it for this. So you can just all play on the same screen. But at the time, everybody bring their flat panels over, get a network switch, everybody plugs in. And we play a lot of games that way that aren't even online that are like an MMO. They're not really they're not like, they don't require LAN. It's not always team-based. Sometimes I'm just like, it'd be cool that if we're going to play Elder Scrolls or something, it'd be cooler if you were here, so we don't have to talk. Because sometimes Discord, man, somebody pops off, I'll be right back, and you're like, yeah, I get it. He's going to fucking talk to his girlfriend. Sometimes you're just like, it'd be cool if you were here so that the focus is just on us doing this thing. That to me is one of the best like feelings in the world, just having friends over to like do that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, those were good times, man. Network switches back in the day. Here's how long ago I was doing this. They didn't even have a cable that went to the switch. You had what was called a parallel cable that plugged your computer into the others, but disconnected you from the net because you were plugged into the other person's PC.
Oh, wow.
So it twisted the RJ5. I don't remember what this cable was called. I call it I thought that's what they even told me it was called as a parallel, but basically you plug it into your port, into theirs. You're no longer online. There was no wireless back then. This was not, but you made sure you had your game on your PC.
Yeah.
And then your network was instantly just their network. There was no
So
switch.
it was all local area.
It was you and me. It would be like, boom.
Yeah.
And then I remember finding out about a Switch and doing that and being like, oh, we can have 4. But at the time, we did Baldur's Gate 1, Icewind Dale, which is a Baldur's Gate side kind of thing. And we played all through that. It was probably like 90 hours where a friend would come down, 2.5 hour drive, and we'd just play all through the weekend with just him and I. And sometimes you'd have friends come over and they'd just watch. That was the other thing. There was less of a requirement for entertainment. Even in Discord, I noticed something that's creeping up, and I'm sure people are going to say it's always been there. It has. I'm just saying I've noticed it more, which is the desire to be consistently and always engaged and like entertained. I am okay with not being entertained as long as it's not boring, but I'm okay with if somebody's playing a game, I can watch it. I don't need to know every new game that's coming out. And you'll get some people in a chat or whatever, and you can tell their brain needs. It's like
stimulation.
I don't even want to see their CAT scan because that thing's going to just be dopamine death. Where they need something new all the time. Having friends come over, they would just LAN RJ45 could be that one. Yeah, could have been just called that. But they would come over and they'd just watch. They'd be like, "That's really cool." They'd be like the cuck for video games. I'm just joking, but yeah, it'd be a fun.
I never
time.
saw it that way, but I mean,
just saying,
yeah,
because it was a chair in the corner, and they didn't get to engage in the fun.
The difference is maybe you're eating some Doritos or whatever during.
Not while playing though, man. I separate the food and the controller or the food and the keyboard. I've fucked up a keyboard or two with you guys. I'll spill a pop in it, but I get even more like militant about it.
But that's different than systematically eating stuff and then touching your. Ugh.
Yeah, just butter fingering somebody else's keyboard with their fatty ass cheese Dorito covered hands.
God.
Yeah. Dude, I'd see one of my friends, no lie, man. You know who you are, by the way. He'd eat some chips and he'd be all. And he'd reach to grab the controller, and I'll be like, motherfucker, don't you? I mean, there was one time where I was like, I will legit karate chop you right now. You get your fucking grubby mitts away from my controller. That is disgusting. Dude, it's not only just the food stuff, it's that you could see the wet, liquory slickness on each glistening finger in the night where they're reaching over going, to grab your controller, and you're like, bitch, I don't know what you think's happening. Go spend $45 and buy a controller. You are not touching my shit, man. That's nasty.
Dude, I had a friend with sweaty hands.
Cadiz has sweaty hands. He's open about it. We joke about it.
Dude, I don't know the physics of what's happening there because their hands would be normal.
Yep.
But when he touched the controller, they would instantly start like,
do you think it's because plastic doesn't sweat? Plastic is completely a dead like material. Because I've shook Josh's hand 1,000 times. No, but controller in particular, he would hand me during Virtual Fighter, and I'd be like, flick, and it'd squirt out of my hands. I'd be like, dude, what just happened? It's a sponge now. What is going? And it'd be wet. And he wasn't like stressing out. It would be a normal game. And so he would bring his over because it was a joke. Like he knew he had him. We'd laugh. I still remember taking him one day. It was really rainy. We opened the car doors to get in and drive home. I turned on the car. This is the old days where you didn't have instant defrost. So I turned on the car. I turned the defrost on and the window's fine. No, it was a dry interior. I said, which driving way do we leave? And Josh goes, that way, and he got near my windshield, and I'm telling you, the windshield just goes with fog. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen, and he laughed so hard. He goes, "What the?" It was like a magic spell. It was so hilarious, man. He's like, and it just covered the entire window, and I was all, "Damn, I've never seen that before." But yeah, I think with controllers, it's always best if you're a friend.
That would be a lame superpower. If your superpower was just warming up your hands a lot and like sweating through them.
Yeah, I mean, unless you were like a truck driver on ice road truckers, then it'd be pretty goddamn useful. Just saying, because those guys will be in their cabs and they're basically getting like, gangrene in their feet from them being frozen feet and hands. So hey, but you are right. Pretty useless.
Could be practical.
Useless though, technically. What else we got?
So is super strength. You know, Kyle Hill had a video about that.
You
like
break everything. Oh yeah, Kyle Hill loves to shit on dreams. I love that guy. He has. Remember
like,
when he covered
this
how
sounds
slow
great,
King
but-
Kong would move? King Kong. He was showing King Kong in the caloric outtake of King Kong, and I was like, and then he showed Godzilla's, and I was like, all right. And he was covering different sciences of how it would be able to get the power, and nuclear, weirdly enough, is one. But it was just like the amount of caloric intake they would need would be ridiculous. Yeah. What else do we got?
Last question from the Bug Guy. What are some of the long-term effects you think we'll be witnessing with Game Pass cannibalizing AAA and indie sales? I know that even I will just subscribe for a month at a time to save money instead of buying a game full price.
I don't know. I feel like we're now seeing that it doesn't because like two people who weren't going to buy the game are now doing a subscription. So while that would be $45 versus the 60, if I have to make a choice of 60, but three of us have to make a choice of 15 and we get to play other games as well. From what I'm seeing, it wouldn't be cannibalizing as much as adjusting how they interact with it. I mean, you're always going to get cannibalizing because cannibalizing, well, and cannibalizing is weird too because it indicates you would for sure buy it, which is complete bullshit. We all know that. Like you wouldn't buy every single game that you might do a subscription on Game Pass because the price is actually different. So people will be 15 versus 60. That makes sense in one case, but in all the other cases, it actually doesn't make sense because it's 15, well, versus 60. And so a person will make the $15 choice more often than the $60 choice. That's actually how it works. But I would say cannibalizing, it definitely has changed, but it would be the same way as saying prior to COVID, movies were still going on and doing their thing, and we had subscription services. It's just a change of the way we intake stuff. I don't really see much of a change.
We're also seeing in the data that a lot of people end up buying DLCs and things like that, where they otherwise wouldn't.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Right. That's true, so maybe you have the game on Game Pass, but you decide to buy the DLC. That money you might not have spent if you, let's say, already had spent 60 on the full game.
Yeah.
And then there's also, brings more people to the games, and there's a certain number of people who will still buy the game, even if they have Game Pass, because they want to own the game. They want to maybe play beyond their subscription. They want to make sure that, the game is always going to be available for them. I know that I sometimes buy a game on Steam, even if I know it's on Game Pass, because I know that in the future, if I come back to it, like Space Marine 2, for example, I know it's a game I'm going to come back to. I'd much rather have it on Steam because it's sort of my preferred platform. And if it's a game I'm going to return to, makes sense to me, buy it over there, for example. So I think there's some overlap for sure. I'm not saying, but probably not as much as we intuitively think.
Well, not to be rude, but if we are talking facts, it is a little weird to indicate that the entire industry would change when the number of Game Pass total subscribers is not near as much as like some of these games sell. And it's on the Xbox, not on the PlayStation. So that means it would still sell on the PlayStation if it was a PlayStation game. If it was an Xbox game, you could say, does it cannibalize from particular Xbox titles? And does it cannibalize a sale? It can, but does it also indicate that person would for sure buy it? And we can't say that this particular competitor is the lowest selling of all competitors. Therefore, somehow magically Game Pass is going to corrupt all of gaming. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So if a person wants to prove one, that's fine. Lowest selling competitor. If they want to add in that it magically somehow is going to corrupt the rest of the universe, even though it's got the least amount of weight to whatever algorithm you're running and to whatever sample rate you're running, then no, it doesn't make any sense. It's completely anti-numbers. What you'll see if they're a person who's against it is they'll try to pretend both are identical, or that somehow whenever they're talking about the bad stuff, Xbox has 100 million, sales of consoles, 100 million subscribers. They've got 200 million subscribers. And you're like, no, they don't. We already know. Now we're looking at 34 million. And then you have to look at one of the top selling games. So you have 34 million subscribers. Many games don't sell a million, let alone 2 or 3 or 4. So now you have a sample rate that's really small. Then you have to look at all these other games, and you can't say something is the least and it will affect it the most. It doesn't make any sense. That's not how it works. What you could say is all subscriptions, are they impacting stuff? Absolutely. Absolutely. As did digital. So the other thing is digital, as do backlogs. You'll have people stating quite openly that they don't buy the new game because they have a backlog. That also definitely impacts a new purchase. We see now that they said like more than 50% of people are playing games 6 years or older. When we celebrate PC owners buying PCs, and I want people to get PCs. I love the idea that people get PCs, but that means they also have a backlog that is quite ridiculous. The backlog could be 20 years, which is never, ever. There isn't even a comparison with Xbox or PlayStation. Xbox is known for backwards compatibility. It's not 20 years, at least not for as many as like a PC is. A PC's backlog is ridiculous. So when a person buys a PC, their entire way of purchasing things, the availability, blah, 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 even though there's difficulties there with driver, how much money you've spent to get to be able to play the new games, it completely changes stuff. So I would say absolutely affects it, absolutely cannibalizes in some way, absolutely is expected, and also you have to take into account digital being a massive change. Digital has changed buyers' entire way of doing things. SoundCloud did the same thing. Spotify has done the same thing. The only reason this would matter is if you wanted to go back in time. And if you did, then you would go back in time prior to patches for games, which would be horrifying. I lived through that. And I'm telling you, when you had a game that just flatly didn't fucking work and you couldn't patch it, you couldn't return it. Most stores were like, we don't have a return policy for an open game. Walmart did. Fred Meyer didn't, at least for when I was doing it. So when I bought that game, that was it. So all of these things impact gaming. And I think also that there's ease of buying things. There's rentals. There's streaming, GeForce Now. There's free. There's demos. There's free to play. I think all in all, the only reason you would like hinge on one thing is if you dislike that one thing. If you're like, I want to hinge on this one particular aspect, it's like, okay, that's great. But if you want to look at consumerism as a whole, you have to take into account probably 70 factors that I'm not even remembering off the top of my head, which I said, indicates streaming, free, betas, free to play, free to test. We only have a 2-hour return on Steam right now for digital.
2 hour.
Which I think is awesome to have, but is really troublesome if it's a short game, because we've heard some developers be like, these games are short.
That's most of our game, maybe.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of stuff. But it's changing in an environment that's changing around it. I mean, the ability to get entertainment it's beyond ridiculous right now. It's beyond ridiculous that I can down. It's the same thing that happens when somebody they're like, dude, the sounds in this game suck. And then a company goes out there and says, okay, let me tell you how fucked this up, Johnny. Think about it this way. Game sound bad on a game. So a person says, man, those sounds, the M16 sounds like shit. So the next game comes out and the sounds are awesome. But now, because it's audio and already compressed as much as it can be, you have a giant install. So now somebody's mad that their hard drive will magically feel crowded, even though that's the entire job. It would be like me getting a storage unit, filling it halfway up, and bitching that it's halfway filled up. That's the fucking job of the storage unit, to hold shit. So then the developer says, okay, we know that's bothersome, so we're going to clean it up a little bit. And to save money, we're not going to re-record this M16 sound that sounds amazing, because it's an M16 sound that sounds amazing. And then people are like, you're copying your old content. You're not trying hard enough. That is like 1/3 of all of the repetitive cyclic shit that a developer has to hear for making a game. I mean, we did just hear it. I saw somebody who was like looking at Call of Duty and they're like, I don't know, man. It sounds like one of these guns is the same sound as the last gun. And I'm like, it's a fucking M16, man. You can still make adjustments to the sound via your environment. Yeah. And you don't need a new sample.
You don't need to reinvent.
Especially if they're a high level, great sounding, M16, and you're going to clean it up anyway so that you can post-process it in your game. You don't want it sounding like outside in the fucking yard. Like, you'd be an idiot. No audio developer is going to do that. They're going to get those clean sounds, bring them in, clean them up, make sure that they all make sense. And the complaint loop and the ability to get the stuff quickly, and then the storage loop thing, it's this weird situation, because I'll see somebody say something really excited, and then the very next time I'll see somebody bring up one of these points about the exact same thing, and I'll be like, damn, you can't win. You legitimately can't win. It's weird, man. It's weird when it comes to like making a game, how difficult it would be. And that's not me siding with bad devs. That's legitimately that's like talking about the tech. Like, when I hear somebody bitch about the size of an install and they'll have a terabyte, I'm not talking about somebody who has a 120 gig SSD and they've got 96 gigs on it. That's going to affect performance. But when you start hearing people pre-bitch about something, you're like, dude, it's for that. Can you imagine if somebody was like, hey, man, my PC runs at 4.9. This game runs it at 4.7. How dare it? I want it to only run at 3.2. And you're like, dude, what the fuck? I think that comes from a lot of analysis where people hear numbers and they start mini-maxing stuff that doesn't really make sense, to mini-max in the way that we do.
Yeah, size is probably the last thing you should care about for your game.
It's so weird. I want to hold 10 games on my hard drive, which I do understand the idea. Quick resume. I think quick resume harmed and hurt Microsoft. Quick resume is amazing. Never thought I'd like it. I was like, I don't switch games very often, but 2 games, maybe the reason I wasn't switching is because of the install. So I do like the quick resume,
or how long it took to. Yeah,
so I get it.
That does make sense.
I get it. And we need to make sure that that hard drives continue to get larger in storage, and that developers don't get, I guess you call it, lazy on compression, but that's such a small issue. Most developers, when it comes to compression, you have your suite of compression tools, and you can't really get lazy. Can you imagine being lazy so you didn't scroll down to the next compression algorithm to compress your game like that? So you'll hear somebody be lazy devs, this game's huge. Why is it huge? And you'll hear somebody playing a game that sounds great. Why is it? I can't believe how big it is. Blah blah blah. And I'll be like, is this impacting your game? I mean, just play the fucking thing. Like, your hard drive's not going to sit there. It's not like it's eating a bunch of fatty foods and it's going to have a heart attack. Just like install the game and play. The only thing I would say is bandwidth caps, but we don't have many here anymore. Some places do. But they're a terabyte, I think.
Luckily they're going away almost everywhere.
I feel like they are. I feel like Comcast still has some places where they hold the old bandwidth cap over your head. But how do you do that with Facebook and Netflix and Amazon? Somebody watching just a couple shows is going to hit a terabyte. Well, I say the way I watch them. I do like to have a show on while I'm doing stuff, so maybe that's unfair. But yeah, don't you I mean, like, you get 2 or 3 people. I heard somebody bitching about password sharing too. They were like, how dare they stop me from password sharing? And I was like, wait, what? Dude, you got away with it. It's great. And it was awesome that they let you.
Oh, yeah, like on Netflix and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. You knew you were doing something shady.
Yeah. Somebody in our chat earlier said, dude, I don't know if you saw this. This is so funny. They said something like, yeah, man, I was watching this show on this channel, but now they're crunching down on password sharing and I'm not giving them my money. And so my response was, yes, I will watch the free stuff and I love it, but I will not pay for the free stuff. And how dare you make me pay for the stuff that I was just like, dude, did you even read what you wrote? Like, how do we like have that as a discussion? Sometimes it's best to just be like, hey, they're allowing it for now. And prepare for the future when they won't, like,
because it's not intended. You're doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird one when it comes to that. But long story short,
for the subscription stuff, there are kind of 2 sides to it. There's one,
which
is the platform, right? So you could say Game Pass, Ubisoft subscription, EA, and from that perspective, because pretty much everybody is having a subscription, we can take from that it works from a business standpoint, right? Because if it didn't, you wouldn't have all these guys having subscription services. So that's one really obvious conclusion in the whole thing, where people initially said Game Pass is not going to be viable. It's, well, clearly these services work from a business standpoint. So it makes sense to them. From the developer's standpoint, clearly it seems to also benefit them at large, because we keep hearing pretty much only good things from people getting onto Game Pass, right? And I think that even though you will have times where, let's say you grab 1 month of Ubisoft Plus, UPay Plus, as I call it, to play, let's say, Assassin's Creed, and you play it for 1 month, and then you cut your subscription, and effectively you paid whatever, $10 for the game instead of paying full price. Surely, yes, that would be like technically a loss for Ubisoft, but you have to also remember that subscriptions are inherently more valuable than a one-time payment for anything in general. If you can get someone to subscribe to you,
mean
there's always a chance.
From their standpoint, it's more
from the standpoint of the one offering the subscription. So right. Ubisoft in this case, for them, a subscription is much more valuable because there's a chance you will stay, right? So a lot of people will get the subscription for a month, and maybe they'll stay more months because maybe they liked other games, they forgot to cancel, all this type of stuff. So there's a lot about just getting people on your subscription that has an added intangible value outside of the dollar amount they paid as well. Does that make sense?
I mean, yeah, because to some people, it may or may not make sense depending on what the person planned, because the number of people I know who say, I'm getting a subscription to play this game because I'm not going to pay $60 really hasn't changed. So it's either $10, boom, that they wouldn't have got, or they would have got secondhand. And I think most of the companies are like, I'd rather get a smaller amount from the consumer to jump in and possibly sample other stuff, but at least play this one game, versus not at all or secondhand, which is no purchase, no tracking of the purchase at all. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, I think when it comes down to it, like, no one will ever really know, because there is absolutely no way to track, unless we had an alternate dimension, how these all will impact going forward, like what these things will do. I will say this though. I don't like that, like, just like a TV show where they'll have half of the season on one show, fucking network, and the other half on the other. That feels like a ripoff to me. And it feels like two people are fucking, like, that they're colluding, you know? You'll be like, I'll go to Amazon and I'll have one, and I'll be like, oh, great. And then they'll go to the other and I'll be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, what do you mean like, season 2 is in a different...
Also, I do think, this is not what's going to happen. I do think it'd be nice that if I bought it on a Ubisoft subscription and I have a current live subscription, that I'd love to be able to download it from Steam as well, you know, which is what they're starting to do. It's what Microsoft is doing with like Blizzard.net, having some of their games on there so you can download them there. I do like that you don't have to like get it extra if you want to. Sometimes, and I'd like to see this more in the future, the spreading out of those, so that you don't accidentally buy Sims 4 like I did and buy some DLC on one store and then a year later buy it on the other store. Yeah. Because I was like, oh, I must not have bought it. I surely thought I did buy it, and I had, and I went and I looked at the wrong other store. So, but when it comes to the business stuff of it, I also don't worry, because there's like a concern. I don't worry about the companies at all. Like, if they go away, maybe it's because I've seen a lot of companies go away, but, you know, I worry about the industry as a whole, but I certainly can't say that like, it's really weird to be like, those people who got a subscription would have bought every single game. It's the same way as whenever you hear somebody say, oh, well, this console sold 40 million, this console sold 30. By the way, that's not PlayStation and Xbox. I'm making these numbers up. But you say somebody, and they'll be like, they magically won. And it's like, number one, not every single person who bought that console is going to buy every game or buy a game. So you can't say you have that many potential consumers, which is great. But then consoles delta is very small. $5. Sometimes you're losing money when you first start selling. So Just because you sold a bunch of consoles doesn't mean you're selling a bunch of games. Xbox 360 was a really good sampling of this particular situation because they were celebrated for what's called the attach rate, which meant when people were buying the Xbox 360, they were buying 3.6 games, which is unheard of. It's beyond belief high at the particular time. And it was wildly celebrated as like, that attach rate is ridiculous, you know? Like,
yeah.
And there was various ways in which people tried to explain it off. I have no clue. Maybe the economy was doing really well. Maybe they had 3, great games that were driving it. But yeah, it's just one of those things. The unsustainable stuff and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, well, I'm unsustainable, so I'm not going to worry too much about that kind of thing. I've lived through enough subscriptions and shit. I'll see a company selling a lifetime subscription, though, and I want to punch somebody in the penis because, dude, lifetime, what does that mean? Because these companies come and go. I saw a company doing AI. They were doing like chat GPTs, and they sold a package, and they were calling it lifetime. And it was a good deal. Even for a month, it was a good deal. But calling it lifetime is a little shady because the life of what?
Yeah,
for example,
the company, I guess.
Yeah, what if 5 of those 6 went now defunct, and the money you spent is lifetime for only 1 of those chat GPT bots, if that's what you were, instead of the 5 that you originally thought were going to be in there. It's just a weird thing when it comes down to it. Yeah, it's odd. I think Spotify, iTunes, they were a good example of what we're seeing now. And I don't know whether that's good or bad. I don't think it's good, but I don't think it's bad. I think it's just where we are. Because, I mean, how do you even track what we could have been, especially when you look at all these industries that are massively changing that don't have the same kind of subscriptions? It's just like shit's. Consumers are changing. More consumers,
Yeah.
I will tell you one thing, though. Look no further than what we're seeing right now, which is Sony's been making, news about it. Microsoft's been making news about it. And look at what the developers were stating at the last game event, where it was like over 60% of developers were like, yeah, multi-platform platform exclusive is done. Like, it is not. Like, we are in a world now where it is just not going to be a thing unless there's a very particular reason. It just doesn't. Everybody's seeing the money being made by Microsoft, and you can bet people are like, whoa. Well, we got a game that's not selling on our platform anymore, Nintendo included. If I was Nintendo and I wasn't selling any more Mario Rabbids, I think number 2 sold poorly. Okay. So let's say you look at it and you're like, well, the port's going to cost us $300,000.
Yeah.
That'd be the first Mario game on an Xbox or a PlayStation. I bet you that thing
it's all upside.
Like
I think they price a little bit of just into the fact that you can only play those games on Nintendo. There's a little bit of exclusivity status that I think they're trying to hold on to.
Well,
yeah.
Right. And just like any financial service, if exclusivity and somehow that spirit of exclusivity continues to succeed for them, they won't change. But I will tell you this. That means if they won't change, meaning they're looking at a status quo of financials coming in. If you start seeing other people making money and you're not adjusting because of them, you are going to lose at some point. That's everybody in the world in every business. You can't just look at your consistent successes and say, we're going to continue to succeed at what we've done. If you see these other companies doing well and you're not looking at the idea of it at the very least, you are I'm not saying you can't turn it down, but I'm saying if you are not like seriously contemplating the positives and negatives of those things, I would consider you a bad CEO. I would consider you a bad leader. You certainly would be a company I wouldn't want to invest in, because if something changes quickly, super fast internet that's instant, or whatever, something changes that you just weren't expecting, and you're back here saying we're doing this very particular thing, you're screwed, man. You're screwed. Somebody like that kind of stuff, something will happen and will devastate you. I think it's also handheld, Johnny. I think people Nintendo's different. It's not just exclusivity. It's that it's exclusivity with generally a handheld device that they have no competition other than your Windows and your Steam Decks and stuff like that. And it's competition that isn't necessarily people aren't fighting to be number one as they are. But I mean, there's not a lot of technology there that's going to magically fix the issues that Nintendo can't fix themselves. Nintendo tried to fix everything, and all they got was DLSS and a smaller wafer, a more advanced wafer, but a smaller wafer. They didn't fix a battery. They didn't, which are real issues. So that's a hard nut to crack. They have openings everywhere. Nintendo in particular, dude, they could put their games on mobile. They could put their games on PlayStation if they wanted to, if they don't like Microsoft, which we know that they've had issues in the past. I mean, I would love to see Mario Rabbids 2 do really well and have those developers looking at the possibility of a sequel versus, haha, we're holding it to a device that's no longer being sold in a couple years when the Switch stops selling.
Yeah.
That sucks. But
do you think Sony is going full into multi-platform like day one?
Nobody's going full, not even Microsoft. But what they are doing is they're looking at, Helldivers, that's a big deal. And remember, the Helldivers developers stated that wasn't us. That was Sony coming to us and saying, let's do it. You'd just be dumb not to. There's ways to still have hardware exclusivity, almost like AMD and NVIDIA do, but still be offering the same stuff, but still be figuring out a way to be the platform. There's all kinds of shit you can do. You bet companies are looking at that. It makes no sense not to, because even by a layer of attrition at some point, your competitor will be on everything and you will be on one thing. That competitor won't need to sell as many across one particular device. They can sell it across many and end up making more money. And then they can go and look at using that money to invest in your area. You can't consistently look at the past. You have to look at like what's going on in the future, where another competitor you don't expect might be. To give an example, I don't think a lot of people expected a Switch handheld device to be, it's not competitive at all with Switch in sales, but it's there. That's a big deal. Prior and Steam boxes or whatever the fuck they were called, Steam machines, those things sucked balls.
Yeah, they were a joke.
They were a joke. Valve missed the mark by like 8,000 miles, and which shows that anybody can screw up. They miss the mark. And I don't think a lot of people expected a handheld at first until the leaks started coming. They were like, oh, that's a weird place to go. And it's done, it's not the earth shaker that I think people had originally assumed, but it's still there. It's very cool. But yeah, we'll just have to see, man. Couple next years are going to be pretty incredible because ARM now Xbox can now install on ARM devices. They can install the games, which originally you could only stream them. So now the compatibility layer is up and running. That's a whole other. Imagine waking up, I guess, would be the easiest way to say this. Imagine waking up and you don't have 1 million new viewers, but you have 1 million new subscribers. That's a big deal. It doesn't mean they're going to watch everything at all, but it means there's a potential there. That's what these companies are trying to do, where they're like, well, doesn't mean we're going to sell.
Increasing the pool.
It's increasing the possible pool of delivering something that somebody finally goes, you know what? Actually seems like a good idea. It's a crazy time, man. We live in weird times, dude. Like there's all kinds of play. I mean, dude, I've so many friends who just have GeForce. They don't even have a PC. It's so weird. It's so weird that they're using a Fire Stick and they're playing GeForce and they don't have a PC. You're like, damn, that is an odd situation that we live in right now. They just don't have a hardware device. And they seem very happy. They're playing a bunch of games. Well, it's funny,
too, that NVIDIA succeeded where Google failed with Stadia.
Yeah, in a way. Stadia had some big... Stadia was early. How many companies do you think have been early? I mean, like... There's been a lot of times where one of these companies will be early, they'll be lambasted for it, and then in 3-4 years later, you are living in the world that they got annihilated for. Microsoft's had it happen, Sony's had it happen, where you're like, I don't like this idea. This idea is not for me or whatever. And then suddenly, 3 years later, you look back and go, oh my God, and it sneaks up on you, right? You're like, I'm dead set against this. But over here, there's this offer. I'll just dip my foot in. And then pretty soon, you're in that environment and you didn't even really realize.
Different coat of paint, maybe.
Yeah, different. Yeah, a little bit of a different offering and stuff like that. What I'd like to see is more flexibility and not telling everybody the price of your game right away. I think that would be smart because if you I'm not saying to hide it. I'm saying maybe wait until you sort of see where it's headed to decide what you're going to charge. And then also, it's really weird for a big company to say, okay, our games are going to be 80. That makes no sense because you're going to have games that are smaller that should be, for example, Outer Worlds, Microsoft originally was like, this will be the first of the expensive games. It is a bit of an odd game to be like, that's our first one. It wasn't Gears of War Emergence Day. It wasn't a GTA. Yeah. It was that one. You were like, seriously? That's weird. That's because they were dumb enough to state, this is the future for us. It makes no sense. Why not
Yeah.
just do what we've been doing for years? You've got all kinds of ways to offer premium stuff. Offer a premium one that's a little bit more expensive. Early access, I hate it. But it seems to be working, where you say you'll get the game. Oh, that's the other thing about Game Pass. I'm sure PlayStation does it. I don't know. I don't know what that service offers. But the number of people I know who jumped, so they pay the Game Pass and then they buy the $25, whatever, to play it early too. Now you're getting very close to the price of the full game. And you're like, oh, interesting. Avowed had it happen. A couple others have had it happen where they're like, yeah, man, I'm going to jump in because, I want to play some other games that are on there that I really like. There's a couple of these other titles, plus I'm going to play the main one. Oh, and I can play it 5 days early. I hate it, though, because I don't know. I don't like early access, even if it's not meaning it's done. It's just, it is an uneven playing space because it sucks. Somebody will leak the story. It's sort of weird to have these delineated, you've got it 10 days early. But I mean, it's better than $80, right? I guess that's a question.
Yes.
I think it is.
If it's either or, I'll take that. Yep.
I'm just saying for consumers, it's better because then that person knows that the game doesn't even have to drop in price to $60. They know that like in 2 weeks, it'll be $60 for sure. Unlike a Nintendo game, which never lowers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think just raising your baseline, like they stated, is like the worst.
The worst. Yeah,
the worst because you get all the negative PR around that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you have all these other ways of getting the same result.
Yeah, and you have ways that a developer or you could look at a game and say, hey, you know what? This seems to be fitting
some people
group.
See value in that or whatever. You know?
Yeah. It's a weird one. What else we got? Was that it?
I think that's about it. I started watching a show called Alien Earth. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but the Aliens TV show.
Yeah, it's an Aliens TV show, and it looks to be really good. I've only seen the beginning so far, but I like it a lot, and it's really good sci-fi. It's very fitting with the usual like visuals of alien movies, where you have all the like fake NASA tech, like the shitty tech, where somehow they have interstellar flight, but their terminals still look like a DOS window. It's really
Predator
funny,
has the anime, which I haven't seen, but they've got like 10 episodes of an anime. Aliens got the TV show. It reminds me of the times when actors would not do commercials, and then suddenly you saw them, doing
and
commercials.
By the way, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Finish your thought.
No, that was it.
I got excited because I remember
Timothy
to tell you
Olyphant's
that,
in it, isn't he?
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
dude, isn't that awesome?
From Justified.
I didn't know that until yesterday. We were all in chat, and I was looking it up because somebody was saying that it was now out, and I saw Timothy Olyphant on the cover of a magazine for Alien. I was like, wait, what? He's on that? Yeah, he's the. Well, I don't want to spoil. I mean, that's not a spoiler. He's one of the characters. We'll just say that. Ooh, fly.
Yeah, he's one of the characters. You have your different races, I guess, or like species that are in play, where like hybrid humans, which are like cybernetically enhanced. You have the synths, which are fully artificial. And then you also have a new type, which is consciousness from humans being implanted into artificial bodies.
So is this based around, let's say, like after the Aliens movies, or is this prior?
Honestly, I have no idea where it's actually sitting. It seems disconnected to it. I mean, obviously, aliens are in the picture, so it's somewhere in there, but I haven't been able to pinpoint where it fits.
Yeah, I like the idea of it, a TV show. TV's changed so much that back in the day, you didn't see like an ass crack because it was all PG. It was PG under 13. It's like PG-9, whatever you want to call it. And now, cable shows the craziest shit, right? TV shows show the craziest shit. So finally being able to do what you would consider to be a horror show. I mean, Scream, there was the horror TV show. There's been horror TV shows, the American Gothic series or whatever they're called.
Yeah. American Horror.
There's like 850 seasons of that fucking thing. Like it blows your mind.
Crazy.
Oh, Krause says after Prometheus and before. After Prometheus, but before the Alien movie. Okay. After Prometheus, but before the... Oh, so interesting. So, yeah, that throws the fiction into, like, some chaos on how you handle this. So, yeah, it's cool. But, yeah, I just like the fact that we're now seeing this kind of stuff pop up. Horror. Even though I'm not the biggest horror fan, there's occasionally a show... Like, From is very horror. And I didn't know if I'd like it because horror doesn't really do much. Or it feels a lot of times like it's just a shock factor. And From is like... I fucking love this. It's almost like that one X-Files, but also really scary, you know. Or
exactly. It's kind of a mix with mystery, thriller.
Yep.
You know, type.
That shit's great, man.
So not just only horror.
I love it.
Got more going on.
Yeah, I want to see it. I'll be checking that out probably in the next couple. I might even check it out some today. We'll have to see. But yeah, dude, there's so many different cool shows on and stuff like that I have like 85 on a list somewhere. Yeah. And then I'll do what you do, what we all probably do, which is turn around and watch the same shit again. That
definitely
instead of watching a new thing, I'll be like, I'll just watch the same thing. You know, I'm not gonna turn around and get something new. I don't know why I do that, man. But I'll be like, I could watch this new thing, but you know what? Instead, I'm just going to watch the same shit for the 50,000th time. I think it's just comfort and the worry of paying attention to something or trying to pay attention and not feeling like I can.
Yeah.
Anything else you've been watching?
Not really. I've been watching Andor season 2. Have you seen that one?
Dude, I don't know what it is about Andor. Man, did I not like it. I need to give it another try. It's obviously good. Yeah, I don't know what it was. First couple of episodes didn't do it for me. But when I say I didn't like it, I don't mean like it was terrible.
It is a bit weird. I mean, for me, it's quite strange. Like the structure of the show is pretty weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it quite a lot overall.
I mean, it's crazy, man, because... Like I said about the actors thing, you just didn't see these blockbusters becoming TV shows other than Star Trek, which started as a TV show, then became a movie. So, like, it's the reverse. But for the longest time, you just knew there was a separation of church and state. You just wouldn't see the movie become the show or the show become the movie. And now you've got Star Trek
at the same level.
Yeah. And admittedly, there's been hits and misses. But I think, in all honesty, when you look at the misses, it's also because there's so many attempts. Star Trek has had like 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 attempts, and some have been not great. Some have been amazing. Some have started amazing, sort of petered out. I would say Enterprise, I really liked more than I thought I was going to. I watched it recently, but it sort of peters out. And then Picard, I think, is probably considered one of the biggest peter out of a TV show that's existed because the first season or whatever, people were like, oh my God. And even I was like, hey, this is pretty good. And I don't like Picard. I think he's the most boring of all the captains. But I was like, hey, this is a pretty good show. And then it just sort of went wherever it went, you know. And somebody just brought up The Penguin. You and I have talked about Gotham. TV shows let them offer something that doesn't have to. It's like a side game. It allows them to like go off and say, oh, yeah, not the Batman. That's cool and everything, but not the Batman. Let's cover this. And I still remember when Gotham was announced, I was like, this sounds like the dumbest. I don't care about Gordon. Who gives a fuck about Gordon, man? I want to see Batman. I want to see the marsupial flying around fucking kicking the shit out of people. And instead, I like that show better than a lot of the movies. I was just like, yeah, damn, that fucking incredible. So it's great.
Is it a hot take to say that that's my favorite Jim Gordon?
No, it's my favorite
portrayal.
It might be my favorite Alfred, fantastic. Bro. I like Michael Caine in the movies, but that Alfred...
Because he could kick ass, man.
It's not only that he could kick ass, he was really mean to Bruce, which you in some of the comics you picked up on, but he never was. He was more to the old school Bruce. Yeah. The tough love Alfred and the baller Alfred, who like when... Okay, so that's what they've always sold Alfred as, is like a baller. They've got the Alfred show, which I never saw, but he didn't... Michael Caine was too old to physically be baller. Right? He's just too old. But I like Michael Caine. I could buy it because I saw old movies with him in it. But I'm like, oh, he's one step too old. The ones from the Batman movies, usually too old. Gotham, he's in pretty good shape. He's got the proper voice. He looks the part. And they cut it well enough that when he did go,
he sounds like he's been to 5 wars, man.
Yeah, like, you're just like, dude, experience over youth when it comes to like killing sometimes. And that, I was just like, no, I mean, for me, Alfred and Gordon, Gordon was never interesting in the movie. I mean, I didn't mind him. I love Gary Oldman. He was.
He's great.
He's great. He's like one of my favorite actors of all time. I watch like Harry Potter when he was the uncle. I can't remember his name. Isn't that Gary Oldman? Yeah. He was the long-haired. He dies saving Harry, but he was like Harry's godfather, maybe, or something like that. But he shows up to help him. I love that guy. I love him in everything I've seen him, even way back in the day.
And has he always been old? Like old man? Like he just.
So I was going to mention he was in the one with Natalie Portman and The Professional or whatever, where Natalie Portman falls for the hitman. She's like 10. It's problematic now, even though it's just nothing happens. It is weird, but. And he's the one who's like, kill them all or whatever. And you see the fucking the gif. Yeah. Sirius Black from Harry Potter. Thank you. He was middle-aged or middle-aged even back then. So yeah, he's been old for a long time and then sort of stuck somewhere. And it just sort of works. Leon the Professional. Yeah. Thank you very much, Necro. Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely, dude, he's awesome, but he's like Tim Roth to me. If those guys made a movie together and they were like old police detectives that came back to solve a case, I'd fucking, dude, when Lance Reddick was alive, my dream was that Lance Reddick and the guy who plays the Del Toro from Spartacus, the TV show. I can't remember his name, unfortunately, but I loved him as an actor. If those two got together as like two detectives, I would have watched the fuck out of that. I mean, that's why Bosch is so good, or Bosch is so good, because Lance Reddick's in it, and he's this you're like, what's this guy doing? Even though it's not really about him, there were times where you're like, I want to know what he's doing too. Like this he's a fucking phenomenal actor. But yeah, I would love it. Gary Oldman and Tim Roth, if they did a detective, surly ass, both of them barely able to motate fucking detective, I would be there in they're awesome, man. I don't know what it is about them too, but they both, I think the first time I saw either one of them, I was in love with them. I was just like, dude, I remember Tim Roth plays a heroin addict, and they decide to steal a bunch of drugs, and he's with Tupac before he was killed. They did, obviously, because that would be weird. It would be a zombie movie. But they did a movie where they both played these addicts, and I remember seeing Tim Roth even back then and being like, dude, that guy's amazing. Like, fucking amazing. I want to see him in everything. Yeah, some of those older actors are great. Tommy Lee Jones has always been old. Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones is sort of a dickhead, man. Unfortunately. I wish he wasn't such... Yeah, there's so many stories. There's the Jim Carrey one, but there's actually other stories. There's also hints you pick up on... You know how all these actors are doing interviews now? Everywhere? Like, Josh Brolin has hinted that when he played Men in Black, there was some, like... are you going to, contact Tommy to find out, how to do his accent? Because he was playing a younger Tommy Lee Jones. There's some stuff about the Space Cowboys that he was on. There's just something about him that seems like a lot of people felt that he rubbed people the wrong way, that Tommy Lee Jones did. He was just odd, which happens, right? He never hit anybody. So like, whatever, you're an actor, maybe you're a little bit of a thespian, and that's the way it is. But yeah, it's always interesting. Dude, I didn't know Timothy Oliphant and what's his name didn't get along at all.
Oh, and really?
Yeah, they both.
Who are we talking?
Goggins.
From Justified?
Yeah, from Justified. Yeah, they both have admitted that, like, because their characters were the way they were, and they were always so contentious with each other that
in opposition the whole time.
Yeah, I think Oliphant one day mentioned, he's like, we're friends now. Like, there's pictures of them together. They did they did, they don't want to spoil anything, but like, they've done stuff. Timothy had mentioned that, like, it was pretty contentious at the end, because they were both playing these two leads that were both leads, in it. And they were opposite ends of the law spectrum. And he said that sometimes it would filter out, and it took him a while to, like, sort of figure it out. And Goggins in particular, I've been watching a ton of interviews with him. He is definitely a weird cat, man. He is.
Yeah, he's a character.
I could see not getting along with him. I like him, by the way. I think he's awesome, Fallout and stuff. But if you watch some of the interviews, sometimes the way he talks, and the way he acts, I'm like, oh yeah, he could be one of those guys that's a little too in character at times, where you're like, this isn't necessarily fun, you know.
Because you also need a pretty big ego to do the job well, right? You need to. I mean, I think to a certain extent,
don't. Some seem to be fine. Like I've heard that Timothy Oliphant, outside of that, everybody likes him. It's just that one they didn't like each other. So it's like, it feels like, you know, if you're the one odd man out too many times, it might be you. You know,
it's you. Yeah. You keep having this issue.
But regardless, I mean, they're actors, you know, and you're working on something. You're trying to get into something. You know, it's a weird situation to pretend to be somebody else that entire time. That's like, even with YouTube, like, you have the ability to, let's say, be a video tuber. You know, you can animate. You can do a faceless channel. You can be a character. And even talking to somebody like Keith, when he came on the podcast or something, you know, he's over the top and he jokes a lot. And we've talked about the difficulty sometimes if you're trying to be serious and nobody can understand if you are. The same thing happens with the one guy who he released his own game that was the 2D. He had a bunch of mini games in it. Donkey jokes a lot, and he talks in a certain way that seems sarcastic or biting, but if he's trying to be serious about something, you can run into the risk of somebody not taking you serious, because that's the entire persona that they're seeing. They don't have any, you know, so they don't even know if you say, I love this game, you don't quite know when you click that link if that's really what they're saying, right? Because you're under the impression that it's always going to be a certain caricature. I think that's with actors the same way. Timothy Oliphant and Josh Duhamel look alike. Yeah, I've stated that since day one.
Yes.
They are brothers from another mother, man. And what's weird is Timothy acts like he lives with Josh. Go read some of the interviews with Josh Duhamel. He lives in the middle of nowhere now. He's super laid back. He always dresses like Justified. He's got like the flannel and the pants, and he's always leaning back. And I'm like, dude, those guys, both of them in a movie, I'm going to be honest, I don't think Josh Duhamel is the best actor in the world. I think he's almost everything I've seen him in is pretty wooden. I've liked him in the shows, but him as an actor, it would be fun to see both of them, show up and
it is
see
funny
how that worked.
They are basically the same person, like externally.
It is weird. I think if you saw them, you'd be like, they're not as close as like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and what's his name from Talladega Nights, the drummer from Red Hot Chili Peppers and Talladega Nights actor.
Oh, dude,
that shit's ridiculous.
Something,
Will
Ferrell?
Dude, what kind of Will Ferrell and that guy.
Dude,
that's ridiculous. You cannot tell me that mom didn't go out and I'm just saying something happened.
She
that
went around.
Shit's stupid. Like, you saw like the Saturday Night Live where they were both playing. You're like, what is going on? That is like when you ever hear the story that everybody's got a clone of themselves out there, just, you know, via the chances because of how many people have been born and that somebody out there looks like you. That shit was found because of the internet. Like, they do look alike. That was ridiculous. Like, everything about them looks alike. Do we have anything else before we wrap it up?
That's it for me today.
I think that's it for me today too. It's been sort of a quiet week. I'm glad we actually sat down because I was feeling like shit. I actually feel better now. You make me feel better.
Yeah, no, me too.
You improve.
We had a nice chat today.
You gotta roll into Fridays, regardless if I like today. I was like, oh man, I might have to cancel. I feel like shit. But yeah, Fridays
it's like
always,
a workout. You still, you go in, you do it, and you feel better at the end.
Can I ask you a question? Be serious, man. Don't lie to me. Don't end this relationship on a Friday on a lie. Do you really feel that? Because maybe it's the level at which I sometimes work out, but there have been times where I'm like, I feel like crap, but I'm going to work out, and I work out, and I'm like, I feel way crappier. Dude, I hear a lot of people try to tell me, oh man, yeah, I feel better after every workout. I get runner's high for sure. That's a real thing. But I don't know, man. Sometimes I'll get done with a workout and I'll be like,
is it because you have really high standards? And if it wasn't a great workout, you feel bad about yourself?
Because, yeah, I mean, I would, if I go out there and I'm not, because like then it would be a waste and you would be uncomfortable. So I'd be, and you know me with time, I'm like, bitch, what am I doing? If I'm not cranking it out, why the fuck am I wasting?
What are we doing?
What are we doing? But what I'm saying is afterwards, because you'll hear people say, I worked out, I felt like shit, I worked out, and after I felt better. And I got to be honest to you, there's not many times, but there are a lot of times where I've worked out when I am not feeling the best, and afterwards I feel a lot worse, like a lot. So I don't know, maybe that's just me, but
there is a feeling of showing up. And I know you made fun of this the other day because it's like, yeah, you showed up, but your workout was shit. But
I just
there is something about bridging that gap where it feels like I don't have it today. I'm not motivated, I'm not. But you still go in and, you put in the work, even if it's not a great workout. It's still that feeling of like I overcame this inertia. Because it was That's so fair. Easy for me to take the path of least resistance and, just chill, not do anything, right?
Jay says he feels good 50-50 of the time.
50-50?
50-50 after a workout.
I would say I always feel better because it's, I feel like I've conquered my, what is it, the thing that Goggins says, like your inner bitch?
Yeah. So here's the difference. I guess I'm not saying I would certainly feel better mentally in regards to that I worked out. But that's a small segment. So that little tiny nugget is up there for sure.
But maybe not physically.
Hey, look what I did. Even though nobody can fucking see it and you're proving it to nobody, which by the way, that's just the way my brain works. That is a negative. I hate it. But my brain will be like, bitch, who the fuck cares? You did a workout nobody's going to see, right? Health, whatever. But you are right. You definitely are right that you'll get done and be like, hey, I was able to do it in the worst of whatever. But what I'm saying is the physicality of it all. I don't know if it's the type of workout I do or whatever, but yeah, most of the time, not most, 50-50, I would say the same for me. Sometimes I'll get out and be like, wow, I needed that. And other days I'll work out and be like, wow, I hate it. I hate the way I feel now. Like, because now I'm sick or feel whatever, and I'm sore or stoved up. And, and so I'm like, oh, fuck, man. I don't know. Maybe it's because you sleep well, too, and I really cherish it. You don't understand what it's like, and it's gotten worse, which is so weird.
Tough.
But yeah, a couple days ago,
because you rely
37
on
minutes. Yeah, 37 minutes of sleep.
For your recovery.
Yeah, and I think that, like, I feel jealous of somebody like you who, like, yeah, sure, maybe you worked out and you feel better, but you also get that recovery time that is guaranteed to you because you're good at or you're successful, where I'm not always successful. So I do feel there is some fear when I lay down. Like, I will admit, the only time I'm anxious, because I don't even know what anxious feel like. If I go somewhere and there's people, I'll talk to 1,000 people. Let me tell you, I'll talk to 1,000 people in front of 1,000 people with no script, no idea what I'm talking about, no anxiety. When I lay down, that shit's rough.
Wow.
The anxiety I
feel,
because
you're anticipating
not being able to sleep.
Not being able to sleep.
And luckily I've got a pattern that works. And I got to tell you, the white noise thing, the YouTube channels that are like, here's the ocean. They have, in the last 2 months, they have changed. They have absolutely.
Those are great,
dude.
I do like camping videos where you just listen to sounds of camping and stuff.
Like the fire crackling?
It will be
I'll check
fire
that out.
Crackling, like nature. That type of stuff.
What happens with me is I found out that if I crank it, which sounds weird, but if I crank it to a certain level, I remember the first time I did it a couple weeks ago, I got the earbuds that we talked about, which are the, this won't connect anything, the open earbuds. So you can hear everything, but they're still loud to you. And I turn it up so loud. And I remember one day just recently trying to think of something, and I realized I couldn't put a thought together. And I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest. Like, because dude, I don't know about you, but like when I lay down and that is happening, my brain will hook onto something like a song, not a song, but like when your brain hooks on a song, and I'm fucked.
So like ruminating on stuff.
Yeah. And it will think of like, I'll be sitting there going, why am I trying to calculate some fucking Fermi paradox?
I know,
it'll
dude,
be the
it's
dumbest
ridiculous.
Shit. And my brain will be doing the math. It'll be like, okay, so if you take the R over, and I'll be like, what the fuck am I doing? But with those and with I'll try the forest sounds, because the beach sounds, I grew up on the coast, so the beach is definitely probably what works. It was such a glorious moment to go, oh my God, I can't keep that thought in my head. This is one. And it worked. Sometimes it doesn't, but it's definitely improved. It's definitely, that's definitely been a huge bonus. I hadn't thought about the fire.
That
might work too. Like the sounds of crickets and shit. Like I can see that
yeah,
working. I need to hear the wind though. Does that sound? I can't. You know, mic noise in an open room where you can hear the, from air. I think I need that. So I use wind and the beach.
I see.
I need the thing, the like white noise. I need that to be there, but it can't be white noise. That doesn't work. Like it can't be like that shit would keep me. I would never go to sleep. I'd be like, what is happening? I need the sound of a real thing, like nature. Interesting. Do you do it every night?
Pretty much. Yeah. I'll read a book while listening to that. And that's how I try to get sleepy.
How do you read the book? Doesn't your brain start? Do you get discoherence where the words they explode, and that's when you know you're tired? Because that's how I know I'm tired.
I don't, because the sounds are very like ambient, so it's not something I'm focusing too much on. So they're kind of in the background. Yeah.
Well, no, I guess what I'm saying is that how you know you're tired? Because what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that the sound becomes a bunch. I'm saying if I'm reading a book, at one point the book will explode like a word cloud. Does that make sense? I will literally see the words separate. So when I know I'm tired, it'll go like...
When I notice that I've been reading, but I haven't caught anything from the last page,
Yeah. 47? I was on page 28. That's when you...
Wait,
then set your book back. What was he saying? I always put the book back like 10 pages. And I'll be like, and I'll be like, okay, that obviously my brain was not ready for your eyes are moving, but it's like looking at a wall. Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah, I do that with Audible all the time. Just by default, I go back like 10 full minutes.
Oh man, yeah, where you have to be like blankety blank, go back one chapter.
Yeah.
Because you're sitting there, you're like, think you're listening, and you're all, wait, the Vikings, like they're attacking in the future. Like, what's happening right now? Like, how did I miss all of this?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy. Shadow says, Karak, how many milligrams of caffeine do you intake a day? Sometimes 0, many times 0. Sometimes, let's build that. What is this? Maybe 200. This one has 100. Maybe 200. Then sometimes like 2,000. Just all depends. Which is weird because the more caffeine, the better I sleep. Which is weird, but...
That is weird.
Yeah, if I have a Monster before bed, sleep like a baby.
Bro.
I know some people who smoke... Dude, nicotine smoking's fucking nasty. But,
nasty.
Like, the relaxation of it, it must be a high for a second, and then the nicotine... I know the nicotine is not neoprotective, but... brain protective, neuro protective.
Neuro?
Yeah, very much so. So, like, I can see that working for that. But I had one friend of mine who he would smoke before bed. Like, that is so...
Wow. Yeah, that is kind of gross, isn't it? You just have the
in his
taste in your mouth.
Yeah, it's nasty.
Yeah,
it's nasty. All right. Speaking on nasty, we got to get out of here because there's going to be a nasty mess for Johnny if he doesn't get to pee. I'm assuming. It's 3 hours, 44 minutes. My bladder hasn't even said I have to pee yet. Are you getting better?
I've been like a Shaolin monk the past 30 minutes, just like deep breaths, find your center.
Relax, but not too much, otherwise you'll spot, as the term goes.
Not too much
You don't
movement.
want to spot, but you'll be like...
Exactly.
Don't
like
laugh
in the
too
cinema,
hard.
man. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, dude, in the cinema, I think I've just come down to the fact that if I have to pee, I do it earlier than later now in the cinema. Because if I hold it too long, inevitably, it's at the climax. Oh, and you're like,
always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, that'll be it for us. Hope you guys all had an excellent week. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, check out Spotify, iTunes. Leave a comment. It would help. And when this is done, can you please leave a comment? That does help the channel. That'll be it for us. We will talk to you next week. Peace out.
Take care.
Foreigner says, highly recommend... Oh, yeah, fans don't work for me. Unfortunately, I wish they did. All right, peace out. Whoops, I need to stop this. Hang on. How do I stop this? I don't know how to stop this on this stream. There we go. Boom.
Dude, we almost did